She was the spark that made the entire world shine with her magic. Thousands of obsessed fans screamed her name until their voices finally shattered. Born from a brutal survival show, the Whiz Girls conquered the global stage. Every magazine cover hailed her as the ultimate beauty and the newest star. Her face loomed over every city skyline, a symbol of perfection and power. 17-year-old Lee Ari stood at the absolute peak of the idol world. But in a cold, dark room, a lonely woman watches the distant dream. The silence of her empty home stands in haunting contrast to the cheering. A simple meal sits cold as the weight of reality settles in the shadows. Her son heads out into the night, leaving his mother to her quiet sorrow. He stands alone, guarding the only person left in his broken world. Every door he opens leads to a reality more painful than fiction. Rage consumes him as he looks upon his fallen, broken little sister. The world's greatest idol crawled back home in shadows 3 months ago. Her agency claims she is sick, but the truth is far darker. She hides in the darkness, trembling under the weight of global hatred. Mainstream media turned her dream into a televised nightmare of school violence. Every screen is a weapon, firing endless lies and vile accusations. Through her tears, she frantically pleads that none of the rumors are true. He shuts out the noise, vowing to protect her from the world's cruelty. He believed that as long as they stayed together, they could survive this storm. But his sister's agonizing screams shattered any hope of a peaceful recovery. The source of her pain started here, within the walls of this prestigious academy. Inside, the laughter dies instantly as he steps into the room like a cold shadow. His eyes burn with a hidden fury that makes the atmosphere turn freezing cold. He walks through the aisle, ignoring the terrified stares of his former classmates. He drops his bag, ready to dismantle the lies that the world embraced. Those who spread the rumors can't even meet his gaze out of sheer fear. He tells them they don't need to speak if his presence is that uncomfortable. The local delinquents waste no time cornering him the moment he takes his seat. They mockingly ask about his sister, unaware they are playing with a ticking bomb. The bullying intensifies as they accuse him of acting like a stuck-up celebrity. A cold hand rests on his desk as they demand to know his new status. A wicked grin spreads across the bully's face, savoring the boy's silent suffering. He finally snaps when they mention his sister's public downfall on the national news. Fury boils over as he grabs the thug, demanding he keep his mouth shut. Unfazed, the predator demands his sister's personal number with a sickening, confident smirk. The bully retaliates by mocking his family's sudden descent into absolute poverty. The entire classroom watches as he insults his mother's desperate struggle to survive. The vile suggestion to sell his own sister pushes him past the breaking point. He lunges forward, seizing the arrogant predator by his throat with trembling hands. A guttural roar erupts as he demands the monster finally silence his filthy mouth. But the bully only smirks, relishing the chaos he has so easily provoked. He leans in with a sickening grin, demanding a price for his sister's dignity. Blinded by a lifetime of suppressed agony, the boy completely loses his sanity. He throws a desperate, heavy strike fueled by nothing but raw, unfiltered hatred. For the first time, the predator sees a flicker of true, lethal intent. The thug attempts to retaliate, but he's dealing with a man who has nothing. He shatters the bully's face with a brutal headbutt that paints the floor red. The bully staggers back as the room suddenly shifts toward total, unfiltered violence. Panting heavily, the boy stares with eyes that have finally lost their last restraint. The thugs continue their cruel mockery, unaware they face a man with nothing left. Bleeding and humiliated, the predator vows to end his victim's life right now. He demands the madness stop, but the monster refuses to acknowledge his own defeat. With a shattered heart, he screams about the family they dared to destroy. The delinquent roars back with venomous insults that seal his fate forever. A cold step forward signals the arrival of a power that dwarfs them both. A newcomer intervenes, warning the trash they have crossed every unforgivable line. With a single, lightning-fast strike, the arrogant bully is silenced by his superior. The entire classroom freezes in absolute shock as the hierarchy suddenly shatters. The true king of the school intervenes, demanding the senseless violence end now. Bloodied and broken, the former predator realizes he has become the prey. Cruel mockery replaces physical blows as he insults the bully's desperate poverty. A silent witness watches from the shadows as the predator suffers total humiliation. Clenched teeth and fresh blood cannot hide the burning shame of total defeat. A cold, murderous gaze demands total submission from the filth on the floor. Forced to smile through the pain, he offers a pathetic display of gratitude. The monsters depart together, leaving a trail of broken pride in their wake. Now, a dangerous fire ignites in the eyes of the man they underestimated. A sharp golden eye watches the chaos with cold and calculated intensity. The school king laughs while another victim's life slowly crumbles to pieces. He carries the weight of a dying reputation on his weary shoulders. Far from the battlefield, a quiet apartment complex hides a tragic secret. Returning home, he masks his burning rage with a simple, polite greeting. He assures his mother everything is fine while his entire world burns. Behind this locked door lies a fallen star that everyone now hates. Hiding in darkness, she trembles as the world screams for her blood. Viral lies and toxic comments spread like a lethal and digital poison. Broken and terrified, the idol begs for a truth no one believes. He desperately tries to snatch the digital poison away before it destroys her soul. She screams in agony, realizing her own brother witnessed her public execution online. Hysteria takes hold as she begs him to fight the faceless monsters for her. Their mother enters the room only to find a daughter who has completely retreated. The broken idol lashes out violently, rejecting the only hands reaching out to save. In a blind fit of rage, she hurls the phone, striking her own mother. The brother stands frozen, as the woman who raised them recoils in sudden pain. His protective mask finally shatters into a roar of pure and unbridled family betrayal. Left alone in the shadows, she collapses under the weight of her ruined life. The memory of their smiles is drowned out by a violent demand for entry. He pleads at her door, desperate to reach the sister he no longer recognizes. Inside the darkness, she remains a ghost of the superstar she once was. Trapped in a digital nightmare, she watches her reputation burn in real time. Her voice shatters the silence, screaming for the entire world to just disappear. Every hateful word from her lips cuts deeper than any physical wound could. He leans against the wood, crushed by the weight of a family falling apart. With a final promise of care, he prepares to face his own daily battle. Silence settles over the home like a shroud, burying the echoes of their joy. Days later, the heavy atmosphere follows them even into the cold morning air. But a sudden voice stops him cold, signaling the start of a new confrontation. Outside their home, a mother clings to the only piece she has left. She offers a final embrace, praying for her son to remain strong today. He holds her tight, feeling the crushing weight of their family's ruined reputation. But a sudden sense of dread makes his heart stop in an instant. Shadows move between the cars as the vultures finally find their next meal. Predatory streamers recognize the targets and prepare to feast on their misery. They discard their cigarettes, rushing to broadcast the downfall to a hungry audience. The silence is shattered as they announce a live exposé on the criminal family. A digital wave of hatred floods the screen while cameras trap them in place. Surrounded by a sea of venomous words, their world becomes a living hell. The predatory streamers swarm them, hurling baseless accusations about her family's involvement. They shove cameras into her face, demanding a reaction for their hungry audience. Vicious insults are spat directly at a mother who can barely stand. Every mocking word fuels the fire of a brother struggling to stay calm. His knuckles turn white as he suppresses the urge to strike back. She tries to defend her child, but her son begs her to stay silent. From the balcony above, a silent witness watches the family's total destruction. Hidden in the shadows of the balcony, the fallen idol witnesses the nightmare. Tears of pure agony stream down her face as her world finally ends. From the heights of stardom to this living hell, there is no escape. The weight of his mother's suffering finally shatters his composure. He watches her tremble under the crushing weight of public hatred. Desperate to protect her, he shields her from the world's cold eyes. They push through a sea of vultures hungry for their total destruction. Greedy streamers scream for more drama, ignoring the human lives they ruin. Even the neighbors join the hunt, spitting venom at the fallen family. Surrounded and isolated, the family finds no sanctuary in their own home. Meanwhile, a heavy door creaks open on the cold, silent rooftop. Ari takes a final step toward the edge, dreaming of a lost piece. She decides that the only way to save them is to vanish forever. Her abandoned slippers rest silently on the cold concrete edge. Ari stands before the abyss, preparing for her final, tragic performance. Miles away, the morning bell rings to start a normal school day. A stern teacher notices the heavy silence hanging over the classroom. Students whisper in fear as they realize a certain seat remains empty. He demands to know why a student has failed to show up. The class remains frozen, too terrified to speak the truth aloud. Meanwhile, the cruelest bullies laugh while recording the unfolding tragedy. A horrifying live stream captures the girl standing on the rooftop. Their leader mockingly reveals that her brother has rushed to save her. He sprints through the streets, his lungs burning with every desperate breath. High above, his sister stands on the precipice of a final, tragic decision. A heartless crowd gathers below, their phones raised to capture the unfolding horror. Cruel streamers mock her pain, turning a potential suicide into a profitable spectacle. They chase views and likes while a young life hangs in the balance. Even the neighbors show no mercy, worrying only about their plummeting property values. His feet skid against the pavement as he finally reaches the chaotic scene. The massive scale of the tragedy hits him as he looks up in terror. His voice fails him as he realizes he might already be too late. He screams her name, desperately begging her to step back from the edge. He screams toward the sky, pleading for his sister to come back home safely. But a cruel foot catches his heel, sending him crashing onto the hard pavement. He grinds his teeth in agony, the weight of his helplessness crushing his spirit. A shadow looms over him as a hand forces him to face his tormentor. A depraved streamer grins, relishing the chance to turn this tragedy into viral content. He stares at the screen, watching thousands of strangers mock his sister's final moments. Pure rage boils over as he strikes out, knocking the recording device away. The camera shatters against the ground, finally silencing the digital audience's heartless laughter. The streamer's face twists into a mask of pure, unbridled hatred for the interference. The man lunges forward, pinning the desperate brother down in a brutal display of violence. Crowds gather to record a one-sided beatdown for the sake of viral entertainment. The streamer relishes the violence, throwing heavy blows at a man who won't fight. But beneath the bruising, a golden eye burns with a sudden, terrifying clarity. He remembers his sister's agonizing screams as her reputation was torn to shreds. He recalls the predators who licked their lips while feasting on her public downfall. The sight of her broken and trembling haunts his mind like a recurring nightmare. He sees his mother's despair as heartless cameras turn their tragedy into content. In that moment of pure clarity, the last thread of his patience finally snaps. A massive counterstrike explodes against the bully's jaw, silencing his arrogant laughter forever. The tables have turned as the brother stands tall over his bloodied, broken tormentor. The heartless crowd gathers, their cameras hungry for the next viral tragedy. A brother's hand trembles with a rage that can no longer be contained. He stands alone against the world, his face a map of past suffering. He asks them how they can believe lies over the girl he loves. His voice breaks as he screams the truth into the cold, uncaring air. Surrounded by vultures, he fights to defend his sister's stolen honor. But the streamers only see profit in his pain, recording every desperate tear. Among the chaos, a mysterious observer watches through a lens of hidden intent. A single eye glows, with a dangerous power that promises a coming storm. While below the madness swirls, a final, tragic choice hangs over the edge. Ari stands on the edge, whispering a final goodbye to her family. Tears stream down her face as she prepares to escape the world's hatred. Below, the vultures with cameras realize the tragic moment is finally happening. Her brother screams in agony, begging her to hold on just a little longer. He races toward the building, desperate to reach her before time runs out. His heart stops as he looks up and sees his worst nightmare unfolding. In a flash of pink, his sister plunges past him into the abyss. Even as her life fades, the heartless crowd records her final moments. His world shatters instantly, leaving behind a soul consumed by pure trauma. A blood-curdling scream echoes through the city for the fallen star. Ari was gone, her name dragged through the mud even in death. Her brother sat alone, surrounded by the silence of an empty funeral hall. Even as he carried her remains, the world refused to stop its cruel whispers. Guilt consumed him for failing to save the one person who truly mattered. 2 weeks later, life at school continued as if nothing had ever happened. Heartless classmates gossiped about the scandal, more annoyed by banned videos than tragedy. They mocked the horrific footage of her final moments with zero remorse or pity. From the shadows of the classroom, a cold voice warned them to be silent. The instigator barked back, claiming the dead girl deserved no respect or protection. A dark aura erupted as the grieving brother finally reached his absolute breaking point. The bullies laugh, completely unaware that a monster is watching from the doorway. He walks through the halls like a ghost, ignoring the whispers of those responsible. Even their own friends aren't safe from the toxic hierarchy of this cursed classroom. Amidst the bustling crowd, he stands frozen in a world that has lost its color. Secrets are traded like currency while the instigator plots his next move with a grin. A predatory smile reveals the true malice hidden behind their casual school uniforms. High above the city, the wind howls as he stares into the empty abyss. Guilt gnaws at his soul, forcing him to wonder exactly where everything fell apart. He remembers her fading light, a sister he failed to protect from the world's cruelty. One single moment of hesitation now haunts him with the weight of 1,000 regrets. He stares in disbelief as the weight of his sister's tragedy finally crushes him. Every memory of her talent now feels like a death sentence he personally signed. Suddenly, a brutal strike shatters the silence. But he doesn't even flinch from pain. A discarded drink splashes against him as they treat his mourning like a joke. They demand he serve them, laughing while capturing his humiliation on a cold screen. If only he had stayed silent, she might still be breathing beside him today. The bully turns away in disgust, refusing to even share the same tainted air. Another stinging blow lands as they mock the very essence of his broken family. The realization of their own cruelty only fuels the fire of their twisted amusement. Violence becomes a mindless ritual for those who have forgotten what it means to feel. He stands there like a hollow shell, his spirit shattered by a tragic past. The bully stares in disbelief, enraged that his victim no longer shows any fear. A heavy blow lands as he drowns in the guilt of failing his sister. Blood spills from his lips while he wishes he had never even been born. The monster lunges again, screaming insults to provoke a reaction that will not come. Bone-shattering impacts echo through the room as the one-sided assault continues relentlessly. He takes every hit without resistance, accepting the pain as his deserved punishment. Cruel bystanders watch the violence unfold, mocking his suffering like a twisted game. A cold device records every moment of his humiliation for the world to see. His agony becomes digital entertainment, a permanent record of his total, crushing defeat. The observer finally lowers his phone, deciding the recorded humiliation is enough for today. His accomplices linger over the broken body, unsatisfied their twisted fun ended so soon. A cold reminder follows that the world only cares about short and brutal highlights. The lead tormentor sneers at his victim, mockingly claiming the lesson was properly learned. But mercy is a lie as he plants his foot for one final devastating blow. A lethal strike connects with a sickening crack, carrying a promise of future death. He is discarded like trash, his broken form skidding across the cold, unforgiving ground. The monsters retreat into the shadows, leaving their prey alone in his silent agony. Trembling and clutching his shattered ribs, he struggles to even stay on his knees. Blood spills from his lips as the weight of his failure crushes his spirit. The broken man stares into the abyss, his face a map of fresh scars. Above the tragedy, the heavens remain indifferent to the suffering below. The bullies celebrate their cruel victory, mocking the man they just crushed. They record his agony, planning to sell his misery for a quick profit. The leader laughs, dreaming of the hedonistic life bought with blood money. Suddenly, a sharp blow interrupts his arrogance, catching him completely off guard. His superior reminds him that payment is only for those who perform well. Trembling with fear, the thug promises to be even more ruthless next time. A cold, predatory gaze watches, judging every move with lethal precision. A mysterious girl emerges from the crowd, claiming the prize for herself. The mysterious girl walks past the predators, her presence chilling the air. The lead bully demands her identity, sensing an aura he cannot explain. The thugs scramble to dig up her history, filming their next potential prey. Meanwhile, the broken brother lies defeated on the ground, his will completely shattered. Far above the chaos, the shadow of the rooftop looms over the defeated. He looks up in a daze as a cold voice calls his name. The stranger stands over him, questioning why he is still lying in the dirt. Her eyes glow red as she screams that his identity is irrelevant right now. She reveals the chilling truth that his sister's killers are still in this school. Pure shock fills his gaze as the spark of vengeance finally ignites. A low-level predator waits outside, desperately trying to sell out a dead girl's memory. He begs his boss to buy the footage, hoping for a quick, heartless profit. The rejection hits hard as he is told simple violence no longer draws views. Submitting to the pressure, he promises to find something far more depraved next. His greed is interrupted when a mysterious shadow suddenly looms directly behind his back. Terror takes hold as the girl with the blue streak strikes without a word. Meanwhile, high on the school rooftop, the grieving brother lies broken and defeated. She screams the impossible truth that his sister's killers are hiding in plain sight. Pure shock replaces his despair as the fire of revenge finally begins to burn. She brushes back her hair, ready to reveal a story that changes everything forever. A chilling laugh erupts as the girl watches with a cold, piercing red eye. She looms over the broken brother, revealing that the entire world ignored his sister. Despair consumes him as she demands to know why nobody stood up for the innocent. He screams in agony, accusing her of being just another heartless witness to tragedy. They stand alone on the rooftop, two souls tethered by a cycle of hatred. Blood and tears hit the concrete as the weight of his helplessness breaks him. She turns away, hiding a mountain of secrets behind a mask of icy indifference. Without another word, she leaves the grieving brother to rot in his own shadows. But the nightmare is only beginning as his profile appears on a digital hit list. The hunt has shifted, and Lee Ajin is now the primary target of their malice. Memories of his desperate struggle at the scene still haunt the digital world. She realizes the thugs targeting him are puppets dancing on someone else's strings. Her predatory gaze locks onto the red-haired rat scurrying across the school courtyard. The hunt moves to the shadows where the cameras no longer see. He begs his shadowy boss for a payout for the footage he secretly recorded. A terrifying shadow looms behind him as his sharp instincts finally scream in warning. She invades his personal space with a chilling smile, demanding to know his price. Panic surges through him as he realizes he is no longer the one watching. She remains unfazed by his trembling as she forces him into a deadly negotiation. The coward regains his smirk, setting a high price for the secrets he holds. She plays the part of an innocent schoolmate to lower his guard completely. The predator remains unmoved, keeping his cold gaze fixed on his target. Every gesture is a calculated distraction, designed to lure him into her trap. He sets a steep price with the arrogance of a man in control. The coward makes a fatal mistake by reaching out to touch her. A sickening smirk spreads as he proposes a disgusting deal for the secrets. Suddenly, his world shatters as a bone-breaking punch connects with his jaw. Her innocent facade vanishes, revealing the terrifying strength of a true hunter. He crashes into the concrete, his pride and his phone scattered away. She calmly retrieves the evidence, proving he was never the one in power. She mocks the fallen redhead with a wink, securing her prize. Inside the school, the atmosphere remains heavy with unspoken tension. Kwak Kite grows restless, searching for his missing accomplice among the students. He decides to ditch class, prioritizing a smoke over his responsibilities. With a mocking sneer, he ignores his teacher and slips out the door. He walks through the empty halls with the confidence of a predator. Something unexpected catches his attention, forcing him to stop and stare. A girl stands alone, humming a song that feels strangely out of place. He looms over her, asking for her grade with a menacing, arrogant smile. Her striking red eyes meet his, signaling the start of a new game. The mysterious girl brushes past the bully with cold and absolute indifference. Kite freezes when he notices his battered accomplice. Seeing the elite fighter completely broken sends a jolt through the empty hallway. A twisted smile spreads across his face as he accepts the dangerous challenge. His fallen comrade screams for him to hunt her down and take revenge. Driven by pure arrogance, he charges forward like a predator after its prey. He gains ground rapidly while she continues her haunting and rhythmic walk. With a triumphant sneer, he reaches out to snatch her from behind, but his hand passes through a flickering shadow that shouldn't even exist. Reality shatters as he realizes he is the one being hunted now. The arrogant fighter slams into the cold floor with a bone-shattering impact. She looks down at his pathetic state and mocks his complete failure. His pride shatters as he swears to kill her for this humiliation. She laughs at his empty threats before effortlessly slipping away once more. With a steady hand, she prepares to make a daring escape. She leaps into the open air with the terrifying grace of a predator. A perfect landing proves that she is playing on an entirely different level. His injured comrade screams at him to stop stalling and start moving. Driven by pure desperation, the two boys dive blindly after their target. They chase her frantically while demanding she return the stolen phone. Fear consumes them as they realize a single mistake could end their lives. Their hearts stop when a shadow suddenly looms over them from above. A heavy motorcycle descends like a falling meteor, ready to crush the earth. Pure terror erupts in their throats as the metal beast comes screaming down. The impact sends them reeling, proving they are completely outclassed in this fight. Tires screech against the pavement with the precision of a professional racer. They stare up from the dirt, paralyzed by the overwhelming presence before them. A slender hand reaches out, claiming the ultimate prize from the fallen boy. She offers a mocking wink, promising to put his stolen phone to good use. Trembling with rage, he can only watch as his last shred of dignity vanishes. He stumbles through the halls, cursing the monster who left him in absolute ruins. Every fresh scar on his face tells a story of a brutal, one-sided defeat. Lowering his head in shame, he begs for a chance that he doesn't deserve. The cold gaze of authority offers no sympathy for a boy marked by scandal. He walks away in silence, the weight of failure heavy on his bruised shoulders. Cruel whispers erupt like wildfire as he passes those who once admired his sister. They fear his hidden rage, claiming his presence stains the school's pristine reputation. Malicious rumors spread, linking him to the tragic end of the idol he loved. Labeled a pathetic loser, he drowns in the guilt of failing to protect her. Yet amidst the hatred, a spark of resolve flickers within his hollow, gold eyes. The grieving brother stares into the distance, his gold eyes clouded by heavy sorrow. But a lethal predator lingers below, watching his every move from the schoolyard. The mysterious girl waves with a playful smirk, mocking the chaos she just caused. Reality hits him like a freight train as he recognizes her from the roof. Far away from the stairs, a group of delinquents gathers to discuss their next move. Low-level thugs tremble in fear, while keeping a lookout for any unwanted witnesses. Kwak Kite waits in the shadows, his sharp gaze fixed on a new target. A battered Minjae sits beside him, nursing his wounds and his shattered ego. Rage boils over as he curses the beggar who dared to challenge his authority. He pays a heavy price for a scoop that will ignite a brand new war. Minjae wears a twisted smirk while praising his associate for a job well done. Kite stares at the stack of bills, yet something about the reward feels off. The tension between the two thugs thickens as they discuss the price of loyalty. Resting on the bench, Min-jae vows to sacrifice every penny to reclaim his pride. His eyes burn with murderous intent as he orders the hunt for the girl. A massive bounty is placed on her head, turning a simple grudge into war. Ki-tae's jaw drops when he realizes just how much blood money is on the line. The payout is enough to turn any low-level delinquent into a cold-blooded hunter. Suddenly, Min-jae seizes him by the neck to ensure there are no more mistakes. Greed consumes them both as they plot a brutal end for the girl who escaped. With the bounty set, the hunters laugh while dreaming of their blood-soaked payday. Min-jae's eyes burn with a twisted obsession to see his target completely destroyed. Behind the school walls, the plan is set in motion through a simple message. Outside, the city glows in an orange hue as a broken man faces reality. Eris' brother wanders the streets alone, crushed by the weight of his sister's memory. He finally understands the suffocating isolation that drove his sister to the very edge. He remembers the cameras recording his agony like it was nothing but entertainment. The world didn't just watch his downfall, it actively beat him into the dirt. No matter how loud he screamed for justice, the silence was deafeningly cold. Even those meant to protect him turned their backs on the truth. He walks through a sea of whispers, haunted by the judgment of the living. The girl who holds the truth mocks the world as she rides into the shadows. Every scar on his face tells a story of a man pushed past his limit. He admits he is just a nobody, a ghost lost in his own sister's tragedy. Suddenly, the brutal reality of the street strikes him down with a sickening thud. A greedy hunter interrupts his thoughts, demanding to know why he is zoning out. With a twisted grin, the thug prepares to offer a deal he cannot refuse. He shoves a phone forward, asking if he recognizes the face on the screen. His eyes widen in pure shock as the past stares back at him. He hides the trembling in his voice, claiming he has never seen her before. The hunter flashes a photo, claiming the girl was last seen on the roof. But the boy stares back with eyes that have already seen too much death. He has no patience for a predator who speaks of the girl like prey. Suddenly, the thug switches tactics, forcing a fake smile and a hollow apology. He leads the way into a dark alleyway where no witnesses can interfere. The air grows heavy as they step deeper into the city's concrete throat. A sudden notification halts the walk, revealing their backup is running late. The thug tries to stall, offering a smoke to keep his target in place. Done with the games, the boy turns his back on the looming threat. He ignores the final shout, unaware that a true monster is almost there. A heavy hand clamps down, sealing the boy's fate in the shadows. Ki-tae sneers, demanding he stay because a friend just wants to talk. But the look in the boy's eyes sends a sudden chill down his spine. Desperate to regain control, the thug spits with utter contempt and malice. The insult lands squarely on his face, but the boy doesn't even flinch. Infuriated by the silence, Ki-tae swings a desperate, heavy fist to end it. Suddenly, a new shadow intervenes, catching the lethal strike with effortless grace. Terror washes over the thug as he recognizes the monster from his nightmares. She mocks his fear, asking if he's simply mesmerized by her deadly beauty. With a bone-shattering blow, she finally claims her prize and ends the hunt. After a brutal victory, the mysterious girl mocks her own rising fame. Haunted by his sister's death, the boy demands to know why she's following. She brushes him off with a playful smirk and a childish excuse. Their tense standoff turns into a bizarre lecture on idioms and misery. Exhausted by the chaos, he tries to focus on the mission ahead. But a hidden predator strikes, swinging a heavy bat at her skull. The wood shatters into splinters against her head in a deafening crack. Horror fills his golden eyes as blood sprays across the concrete. The unstoppable warrior finally collapses as the ambush takes its toll. A new gang emerges from the shadows, mocking the pathetic display of violence. The trap has been sprung and the dirty work is finally finished. Kwak Ki-tae sneers with sadistic joy, claiming his long-awaited prize at last. His heavy-hitting lackey struggles to stand after the brutal, bone-shattering exchange. They celebrate their victory, mocking the secret bond between their fallen targets. But a shadow looms over the alley as the silent protector arrives. Ajin's face is masked in darkness, his heart fueled by a cold fury. He looks down at the broken warrior, seeing the cost of his hesitation. The sight triggers a haunting memory of the sister he already lost. His golden eyes ignite with a power that promises absolute, unforgiving slaughter. Unaware of the monster he just awakened, the predator greets his next victim. Ki-tae offers a mock apology while tightening his heavy grip on the silent brother. He whispers with a sinister grin, hiding a lethal threat behind a fake smile. To prove his dominance, he ruthlessly grinds his heel into the fallen girl's back. He demands to know the identity of the warrior who dared to humiliate Min-jae. Despite the crushing pressure, Ajin remains tight-lipped, his golden eyes burning with defiance. The predator laughs, enjoying the absolute power he holds over his cornered prey. Suddenly, Kite loses his patience and violently collars the boy with a roar. He looms over the broken student, mocking his weakness and his inability to fight. The bully offers a final, terrifying ultimatum to beat the truth out of him. But beneath the shadows, a dormant monster awakens with eyes filled with pure slaughter. Kite sneers at the defiant look still burning within his bloodied victim. Losing his composure, the predator slams the boy into the cold pavement. He demands answers with every brutal strike, desperate to uncover the truth. A vicious kick follows as he screams for the identity of his humiliator. The alleyway echoes with the sound of a completely one-sided and merciless assault. Nearby, the other bullies watch the carnage with chillingly casual indifference. Hoisting his prey up, Kite offers a false mercy for a simple name. But Ajin only stares back with pure hatred, calling his tormentor human garbage. Enraged, the bully delivers a final, crushing blow that sends him spiraling down. Turning away, the leader orders his men to scavenge for any useful evidence. The mysterious girl lies broken and still as the thugs move in. They callously haul her up by the hair, treating her like mere garbage. A haunting pool of crimson blood marks the spot where she finally fell. One lackey scavenges her phone, eager to please his ruthless superior. Kite accepts the prize with a grin, promising his men a heavy reward. While they celebrate their victory, Kite prepares to send word to Minjae. But the celebratory mood dies instantly as a cold shiver grips the group. Horror strikes when they realize their target has stopped breathing entirely. A deafening silence falls over the alley as the gravity of murder settles. The thugs spiral into a panicked frenzy, realizing they are completely finished. Panic spreads like wildfire as the thugs realize their target has stopped breathing. A trembling student begs Kite for help, terrified of the looming legal consequences. Kite sneers at the display of cowardice, silencing the boy with brute force. The surrounding lackeys watch in horror, realizing they are all accomplices to murder. Minjae offers to check the pulse, his face twisted by a manic, desperate grin. Kite dismisses him with a shove, refusing to let a loser touch the body. They haul the girl's limp form through the alley like a piece of garbage. She remains eerily still, her cold skin showing no signs of a beating heart. Kite refuses to accept her death, shouting that more pain will wake her up. In a terrifying twist, the corpse snaps awake and bites into his hand. Kite screams in agony as the supposed corpse sinks its teeth into his flesh. Before he can even process the pain, a brutal kick shatters his remaining pride. The girl stands triumphant over the bully, mocking his weakness with a manic grin. She instantly turns her predatory gaze toward the next target, seizing him by the hair. With a single explosive strike, she sends the massive lackey crashing to the pavement. The alley falls silent as the girl stands alone amidst the broken, defeated bodies. Watching from the shadows, Minjae realizes this is his golden opportunity to gain favor. He lunges forward, violently grabbing her hair to reclaim some semblance of control. She turns with blood-red eyes, chillingly revealing that he was already on her list. Desperation fuels his rage as he screams insults, refusing to believe he is outmatched. She seizes her prey with a grip that promises nothing but pure agony. Without a shred of hesitation, she slams his skull into the unforgiving concrete. The next lackey is tossed aside like a broken doll in her wake. She whispers a chilling reminder that he started this fight with his arrogance. Terror consumes him as he begs for mercy, claiming he was only following orders. A twisted laugh escapes her lips while she mocks his pathetic, tearful display. From the shadows, Minjae trembles with a murderous rage that has finally boiled over. He spots a broken weapon on the ground, a desperate tool for his revenge. Screaming a death threat, he lunges forward to strike her from behind. A heavy wooden beam descends, aimed to end her reign of terror forever. She freezes in shock, realizing her opponent is actually aiming for the kill. Suddenly, her brother intervenes by slamming a heavy fire extinguisher into his face. The brutal impact shatters his nose as blood sprays across the cold pavement. He stands over the fallen hunter, finally catching the man who hunted them. The surrounding thugs watch in horror as their leader is effortlessly taken down. Enraged by the defeat, they prepare to swarm the siblings and take revenge. Without hesitation, he pulls the safety pin to unleash a desperate tactical distraction. Panic strikes the mob when they realize they have no way to escape. A blinding white cloud erupts, swallowing the alleyway in a choking chemical fog. Trapped and blinded, the thugs scream in agony while the siblings make their getaway. Through the choking smoke, they stumble blindly away from the chaos they just sparked. Both are battered and bleeding, barely holding onto consciousness as they flee the scene. She suddenly pulls away, insisting that he release his grip for just a moment. He stops in his tracks, confused by her sudden change in demeanor. To his shock, she throws open the door of a parked getaway vehicle. He stares at her in disbelief, wondering how this girl acquired such a ride. The city glows under a blood-red sunset as the stakes reach a boiling point. Their heavy vehicle tears through the streets, leaving the bewildered public behind. He questions her legality behind the wheel, but she claims she is no student. With a playful smirk, she jokes that her youthful looks are just a gift. Stunned and bloodied, he demands to know the true identity of his mysterious savior. With a playful smirk, she ponders where to begin her long-awaited explanation. Their vehicle races through the sunset as the truth finally begins to surface. She bursts into laughter while confessing her secret life as a notorious cyber wrecker. The revelation leaves him speechless as the weight of her words sinks in. They navigate the bustling city streets while he struggles to process this sudden betrayal. He questions her motives, unable to believe she belongs to that toxic world. She casually explains her role as a professional driver within the dark industry. A cold realization flashes in his eyes as the pieces of the puzzle align. He realizes she only saved him to exploit his family's tragedy for viral content. Ajin's voice trembles as he warns her that any involvement means certain death. His fist shakes with a lethal fury that he can no longer suppress. She remains unfazed, casually challenging him to follow through on his empty threat. Her playful facade vanishes, replaced by a cold demand for his absolute attention. Silence fills the car as the crushing weight of the truth finally sinks in. The secret behind Eris' death leads directly back to the students at school. Kwak Kite waits alone, unaware that his past is about to catch up. Two imposing figures approach, their arrival signaling the end of the quiet evening. He screams for the phone, realizing the evidence of his crimes is gone. The silent enforcer merely stares at the device that holds everyone's dark secrets. He demands the evidence immediately, unaware the situation has already spiraled out of control. Reality hits hard as he stares at the screen, realizing that everything is gone. He lashes out in a panic, screaming that his phone was stolen by a monster. Relief washes over him momentarily while his battered reinforcements finally regroup in the shadows. The group stands in defeat, unable to explain how one girl dismantled them easily. His top fighter admits through blood and bruises that their target was no student. Disbelief turns to cold fury as he questions how professional thugs could fail miserably. A single memory of her lethal precision confirms she possesses the skills of a champion. He masks his fear with a cruel smirk, mocking his men for their incompetence. They stand in silent shame, knowing they were lucky to escape with their lives. Minjae listens in stunned silence as his men describe a total, humiliating defeat. A single, lethal strike from a mysterious girl sent their strongest fighter reeling. The elite bullies can't believe a lone motorcycle rider dismantled their entire squad. He erupts into mocking laughter, convinced his subordinates are making up excuses. His battered soldiers swear the encounter felt like a staged comedy prank. A sudden, chilling realization flashes across his face as he connects the dots. He demands they repeat that specific detail about the YouTube skit immediately. Obsession takes over as he screams for every photo they took of her. The thugs tremble in fear while realizing their phones hold a dangerous secret. He prepares to make a call that will drag everyone into the abyss. The greedy mastermind grins as he smells a massive payday on the horizon. A high-speed escape becomes a search for the monster who destroyed his sister. The driver reveals the name of the industry's most twisted and sick organization. She is stunned to realize the legendary fighter is completely oblivious to modern media. He admits his only interest online is watching innocent videos of puppies and kittens. She laughs at his purity while labeling him a total outsider to their world. The atmosphere shifts as she prepares to explain the dark reality of the internet. She describes the predators who hunt for scandals to expose and destroy their targets. But some monsters are far worse, fabricating entire lies to manufacture public hatred. The chilling truth finally clicks as he understands the fake stories that killed her. She confirms the heartbreaking reality of how the industry truly operates. Professional predators lurk in the shadows, manufacturing lies to destroy innocent lives. These monsters are known as drivers, specialists in fabricating career-ending scandals. He reels in shock, realizing the depth of the conspiracy against his sister. She warns him that even the lowest-tier operatives are incredibly dangerous. Fake victims were paid to cry on camera, painting his sister as a monster. Every single accusation that drove her to the edge was a calculated lie. He demands to know how she could possibly possess such classified information. She reveals a driver is hiding among his classmates and must be hunted. His blood boils as he prepares to hunt down the person responsible. His eyes burn with a murderous intent that promises absolute destruction for his enemies. Deep within the city shadows, a sinister greeting marks the start of a nightmare. The petty bully frantically calls his superior, desperate to report a new, dangerous target. A single photograph reveals the woman who has been dismantling their operations from within. Emerging from the steam, a tattooed monster prepares to settle a debt in blood. This high-tier driver smiles at the prospect of hunting down a truly worthy opponent. They laugh about the fortune they made by destroying a young girl's entire life. The price of a human soul was surprisingly cheap for these heartless, calculating predators. With a twisted grin, the beast demands to face the mysterious girl in person. He stands frozen as the truth behind the conspiracy finally begins to unfold. She tells him to wash away the blood and find his focus. Outside, the night air remains still as the water begins to fall. He stands under the spray, letting the heat soak into his tired muscles. As the steam rises, a flickering ghost of the past begins to surface. Blood swirls around his feet, recalling the noise of his elementary school days. They were once a happy family, oblivious to the tragedy waiting for them. A simple brand logo carried the weight of all their childhood dreams. He remembers shouting for his favorite treats while clutching the empty packaging. His mother gently breaks the news that their favorite meal is now forbidden. He protested, shouting that his little sister loved those dumplings just as much. Mom warns them that even their favorite childhood treats were filled with filth. His little sister teased him, laughing as he clutched the tainted food. Their bickering filled the room, a brief moment of warmth before the storm. But the news broadcast proved that their simple world was built on lies. That warmth was replaced by blood, hospital beds, and a sister who never woke. He realizes now that the woman he met shares his same hollow pain. Back in reality, the crisp snap of a cold beer cuts through the silence. She laughs, finding a moment of peace with the very food that sparked tragedy. Her eyes sharpen as a hand reaches into her small circle of comfort. He simply takes what he needs, driven by a hunger that never truly fades. A temporary peace settles as they share a simple meal in the quiet room. But beneath the casual banter, a heavy exhaustion weighs down her weary soul. He reaches for the food, his mind far away from the taste. Desperate for power, he begs this mysterious woman to teach him how to fight. His heart burns with a singular, violent desire to mirror her path of vengeance. She stops him cold, claiming he has the entire sequence of events backward. Confusion flashes across his face as her words cut through his resolve. She challenges him to ask the one question that truly matters in this war. With a trembling voice, he asks if her quest for blood was actually successful. She snatches the prize away, leaving him with the cold reality of her failure. She finishes her meal with a smirk, her mind already plotting the next move. Looking him in the eye, she proposes a lethal partnership to claim their vengeance. Her invitation is clear. They will hunt their common enemies as a single unit. Confusion washes over him as he wonders how such a plan could ever work. She places a hand on his chest, promising to absorb every incoming blow. While she serves as the defense, he is tasked with becoming the ultimate weapon. A dark grin spreads across his face as he accepts his role as her spear. She confirms his new purpose with a gaze that burns with cold, murderous intent. She explains that while the shield holds, the spear must pierce the enemy's heart. Now, the predator and the weapon are ready to slaughter those who deserve it. He questions the danger of an enemy armed with lethal firearms. A clenched fist rises as his mentor prepares a physical response. She pummels him relentlessly for his lack of focus during their session. He laughs through the pain, finding light in their shared darkness. For the first time since his sister's death, he feels truly at peace. Her genuine smile reveals a warmth hidden beneath her murderous intent. A faded photograph reveals the family she is desperately fighting to avenge. All his lingering doubts vanish into the cold air of the night. Silence falls over the city as the hunt finally begins in earnest. Somewhere in the shadows, a sinister plot to lure a target takes shape. A dark transaction is planned as cigarette butts pile up on the pavement. Kwak Kite finishes the briefing, his expression hardening with a cold, ruthless intensity. His crew reacts with shock as the true scale of the operation becomes clear. He turns his fury toward the scarred man, demanding absolute obedience and focus. The bloodied fighter suggests moving now, but the timing isn't right just yet. Rage boils over as Kite screams at his subordinate for being a pathetic fool. The scarred warrior stands his ground, claiming he already has a secret plan. Kite's grip tightens on his phone until his knuckles turn a ghostly white. He loses control, lunging forward to strike down the man who defied him. A lightning-fast hand intercepts the blow, stopping the madness in its tracks. The scarred warrior seizes control as the atmosphere turns suffocatingly heavy. He demands his cold, hard cash while the once confident Kite begins to crumble. Desperate screams echo through the night as the red-haired strategist begs for more time. The realization of a failed deal leaves the subordinate clutching his phone in terror. A trembling witness watches the power balance shift toward a total catastrophe. A new proposal emerges to lure their most dangerous enemy into the light. Kite questions the warrior's sanity as the stakes reach a point of no return. A twisted smile reveals the true malice behind this calculated and bloody game. Pressure mounts on the red-haired fool to execute a plan that could end everyone. The ultimate trap is set to bring every major player to their knees. A quiet morning settles over a seemingly peaceful modern home. Inside, Eris' brother remains trapped in a deep, restless slumber. The sudden vibration of a device shatters the silence of the room. He answers the call, unaware that his world is about to crumble. Irritation flares as he demands to know who is disturbing his rest. His golden eyes widen when a ghost from his past identifies himself. He bolts upright, the weight of a looming threat finally sinking in. Fear paralyzes him as the voice claims to be with his mother. His heart hammers against his ribs while he waits for the final blow. A horrific sight confirms his family is now at the mercy of monsters. The mocking voice on the phone shatters his sanity with a chilling question. A cruel demand follows, ordering him to bring his mentor into the line of fire. He slams the phone down as his heart hammers against his trembling chest. Looking at his sleeping companion, the weight of the coming war finally sinks in. He vows to become the ultimate weapon to pierce through his enemy's lies. To survive this nightmare, she must become the shield that protects them both. In the cold morning light, the silence of the room masks a brewing storm. Meanwhile, at the hospital, the monsters are already preparing their next move. The villains grow impatient, wondering if their prey is walking fast enough. Fear flickers in Kitae's eyes as he questions if they can truly handle the consequences. The scarred warrior mocks the timing as he watches the trap finally unfold. His companion trembles with a growing sense of overwhelming dread. He turns his gaze toward the helpless woman clinging to her life, realizing they have crossed a line that can never be uncrossed. Suddenly, the heavy hospital door slides open with a chilling sound. A man who shouldn't be here steps directly into the lion's den. Kitae bows frantically, trying to maintain control over the chaotic situation. But the true monster stands tall and silent right behind him. A single cold glance sends a wave of terror through the room. Now, even the strongest predators are forced to lower their heads in fear. A heavy silence falls as the vengeful brother stares into the empty hospital room. He towers over the conspirators, demanding to know where the targets are hiding. Kitae stammers a pathetic excuse, claiming they escaped with a girl moments ago. The air turns freezing as he asks whose idea it was to attack here. Paralyzed by a primal fear, the red-haired strategist realizes he is completely trapped. Attacking a hospital was a sin that no amount of begging can ever erase. Trembling under the weight of that gaze, the boy loses his ability to speak. Suddenly, the scarred warrior steps forward to take full credit for the ambush. The monster finally prepares for war, rolling up his sleeve to reveal his mark. With every heavy step, the time for talking has officially come to an end. Brother leans in, coldly questioning if this entire betrayal was just for money. The scarred warrior freezes, his arrogance vanishing as he struggles to find an answer. A sudden, thunderous strike echoes through the room as the monster finally snaps. Paralyzed by the sheer pressure, the thug realizes he has made a fatal mistake. With a chilling smile, the brother reminds him of their promised meeting at school. Desperate and cornered, the warrior tries to justify his pathetic, early ambush attempt. But the time for excuses is over, as a hand reaches out for blood. A devastating blow sends the attacker spinning through the air like a broken doll. Standing tall, the brother looks down with pure disgust at the man beneath him. Clutching his shattered face, the villain finally understands the true meaning of terror. Kitae and his lackey freeze as the atmosphere in the room suddenly shifts. The hospital door is blown wide open by a force of pure desperation. The brother finally arrives, his eyes burning with a terrifying, vengeful light. A blood-curdling cry for his mother shatters the silence of the clinical ward. The enemy leader simply smirks, amused by the boy's predictable and frantic arrival. He lunges forward like a beast, ignoring the killers standing in his path. Reaching the bedside, he collapses in a panic, praying she is still breathing. His mother lies motionless, her life sustained only by the hiss of oxygen. Looking at her pale, fragile form, his overwhelming grief transforms into lethal intent. He takes her hand, silently vowing that every monster here will pay in blood. The brother demands answers as he towers over the trembling, sweating lackey. A mysterious shadow looms over him, calling his name with chilling familiarity. A sadistic grin spreads across the face of a man he has never met. Confusion turns to suspicion as the brother demands to know his true identity. The stranger casually checks his phone, treating this lethal confrontation like a minor chore. He looks past the boy, questioning if his mentor has finally arrived to help. The realization that this monster knows far too much sends a cold, heavy shiver. In a split second, the brother notices the true scale of the surrounding carnage. The elite warrior who once guarded the room now lies broken and utterly defeated. Even the mastermind can only watch in horror as his entire plan finally crumbles. The heavyset lackey can only tremble as the atmosphere in the room turns lethal. Confusion clouds the brother's mind as he wonders why they are seeking his mentor. The sadistic stranger looms over him, questioning the nature of his relationship with the girl. Sweat beads on the boy's face as he desperately tries to deny their connection. The monster's composure cracks, demanding to know exactly where she is hiding right now. Amidst the chaos, the fallen warrior screams out, accusing the boy of protecting her. The villain leans in with a terrifying smirk, daring him to keep lying to his face. From the floor, the broken man shrieks that every word out of his mouth is false. A sickening grin spreads as the stranger threatens the life of his helpless, grieving mother. Rage and terror collide, as the brother realizes his mother is the ultimate bargaining chip. The broken warrior screams in a desperate attempt to regain some shred of control, but his hollow threats only meet a cold, weary sigh from the true monster. In the sterile silence of the hospital, a terrifying new predator claims the floor. Without a word, the stranger seizes him with a grip like cold, unforgiving steel. He lifts the man like a doll, demanding the truth through sheer, suffocating terror. The air shatters as a brutal strike silences any hope of a quick escape. As the brother watches in silence, the villain mocks his ignorance and his weakness. A chilling warning follows, promising a special kind of hell for those who lie. With a sickening crack, the monster delivers a punishment that defies any sense of mercy. Watching the carnage unfold, the mastermind realizes he has unleashed a force beyond his control. The brother freezes while the terrified lackey watches the monster's overwhelming presence. A thunderous blow shatters the silence, leaving no room for negotiation or mercy. The mysterious intruder treats the elite fighter like a mere plaything to be broken. Battered and broken, the once confident warrior trembles under the weight of true power. A cold, sadistic smile spreads across the monster's face as he relishes the agony. With a patronizing touch, he reminds his victim exactly who holds their life. Turning his gaze, the monster mocks the brother for being completely in the dark. Driven by a desperate rage, the brother clenches his fist against the suffocating pressure. Desperation drives the battered warrior to throw a punch that will never land. The villain only laughs, delighted by a struggle that is utterly and completely futile. The monster effortlessly dances through the desperate strikes of a man outmatched and outclassed. Every frantic blow misses its mark as a terrifying shadow looms closer with a grin. With a single devastating strike, the elite warrior's defense is shattered like fragile glass. Choking on his own blood, the defeated fighter realizes his strength means absolutely nothing. Broken and humbled, he collapses before the overwhelming presence of a true apex predator. Turning his cold gaze, the intruder offers the brother a twisted game of life. A sadistic smile widens as he asks the one question that haunts the brother's soul. The truth hits like a physical blow, leaving him paralyzed by a sudden, horrific realization. Laughter echoes through the sterile hospital room as the predator revels in their shared despair. Battered and broken, the fallen warrior can only wonder why this nightmare is happening. Taunting the broken warrior with the memory of his sister's tragic end, a cold hand tightens around his throat, snuffing out his final breaths. He strikes with lethal precision, asking who truly pulled the strings. Reality shatters for the brother as the name Jungu finally echoes. Everything started with a phone and the fabrication of a deadly lie. In the past, the conspirators gathered to seal a young girl's fate. They demanded more drama, forcing a performance of manufactured suffering. Beneath the surface, a dark silhouette guided their every cruel move. The monster behind the curtain reveals himself as the ultimate predator. For a stack of cash, they traded a life for a viral scandal. The blood money finally lands in the hands of the greedy ringleader, Kitai. But the mastermind behind the curtains begins a brutal, one-sided interrogation of his own. Even the cruelest bullies tremble and bow before this monster's overwhelming, sadistic presence. Amidst the carnage, a chilling question remains regarding the true purpose of the video. The brother clenches his teeth, haunted by why his innocent sister was chosen. Every ounce of his being screams for the truth hidden behind this deadly conspiracy. Nearby, the heavy-set lackey watches in absolute terror as the power dynamic shifts. Kita's arrogance vanishes, replaced by a cold sweat as he faces a new threat. Even the dominant predator is stunned by the sudden, explosive surge of raw emotion. With a roar of agony, he demands the secrets that destroyed his sister's life. The mysterious mastermind stares back with a chillingly calm and empty expression. Instead of fear, a sadistic smirk spreads across his face as he mocks him. Fueled by pure agony, the brother lunges forward with a desperate, heavy strike. His fist connects with a bone-shattering impact that should have ended the fight, but the monster barely flinches, absorbing the blow like it was absolutely nothing. A massive hand reaches out slowly, asserting a terrifying level of physical dominance. In an instant, the brother's golden eyes widen as true terror finally sinks in. The villain playfully pinches his cheek, treating the vengeful warrior like a helpless child. He promises to return soon while the brother stands paralyzed by his overwhelming pressure. Finally, he whispers the ultimate bait, offering the identity of his sister's true killer. The monster leans in close, mocking the brother's complete inability to fight back. Collapsing to the floor, the once proud warrior can only stare at his predator's feet. With cold indifference, the mastermind orders his lackey to dispose of the broken trash. Trembling with fear, the red-haired coward quickly obeys his terrifying superior's every command. As they drag the defeated away, the brother remains frozen amidst the hospital's silence. The villain suddenly pauses, a dark thought crossing his mind like a sharpened blade. He cruelly suggests that their mother must witness the truth of her daughter's demise. A sadistic grin spreads across his face as he leaves the brother in agony. The door slams shut, sealing the brother inside a tomb of his own failure. Left alone in the dark, the weight of his sister's tragedy finally breaks him. Trembling in the silence, the weight of failure crushes the brother's spirit. A sudden touch on his shoulder shatters the heavy atmosphere of the room. He spins around in a panic, ready to face another heartless monster. But instead of a killer, he finds a man drowning in his own tears. Rage flares as he warns the coward to stay away from his family. The lackey begs for forgiveness, claiming he never intended for things to go so far. Confusion replaces anger as the brother demands to know the hidden meaning behind these words. Falling to his knees, the broken man prepares to reveal a sickening, buried truth. The story shifts back to a quiet classroom, where a dark plan first ignited. Long ago, a sadistic smile watched the beginning of Eris' downfall through a screen. In the past, Kite ruled his classroom with a heartless and violent grip. A desperate underling tries to gain favor by showing off a secret digital treasure. On the screen lies a rare, candid glimpse of the innocent idol, Ari. Kite sneers at the discovery, initially unimpressed by his lackey's pathetic obsession. The boy explains his status as a dedicated fan, unaware of the predator watching. He reveals that news reporters are offering a small fortune for these private photos. At the mention of money, a dark and insatiable greed ignites within Kite's eyes. The atmosphere shifts instantly, as a sickening plan begins to take root. With a terrifying gaze, he demands full control over the lucrative fan account. This was the moment a simple delinquent truly began his descent into monstrosity. 2 weeks later, the peaceful school atmosphere hides a gathering storm of malice. A sudden strike from the shadows reminds everyone who truly runs these halls. Kite demands fresh evidence of Eris' life, treating her like a common product. He grows frustrated with the slowing profits, his insatiable greed demanding more results. A brutal fist ensures his terrified subordinate remains too scared to ever disobey. Then, a sharp chime signals the arrival of a high-stakes digital proposition. A sickening grin spreads across Kitaya's face at the sight of a new buyer. The mysterious stranger asks for a custom job that pushes the boundaries of cruelty. An offer of triple the market rate turns this simple scheme into gold. Completely overwhelmed by the massive sum, Kite prepares to escalate his dark game. The mysterious buyer issues a chilling ultimatum with only 60 seconds to decide. Kite seethes with rage, wondering who would dare to play games with him. Driven by greed, he frantically types his bank details to seal the dark deal. A sudden notification chime catches the villain completely off guard. His eyes widen as a massive deposit of 3 million won hits his account. The sheer scale of the payment leaves him paralyzed in utter disbelief. The buyer demands total compliance for 10 days or he will face the consequences. Overwhelmed by the sudden fortune, Kite breaks into a fit of maniacal laughter. His terrified subordinate watches in silence as his boss descends into pure madness. Celebrating his new wealth, the monster realizes that betraying Ari was incredibly easy. 9 days before the tragedy, the school was filled with innocent laughter and games. Ari sat among her peers, completely unaware of the vultures circling her every move. Her radiant smile was the very thing her enemies planned to weaponize against her. From the shadows, Kite watched his prey, capturing the moments that would ruin her. Behind these peaceful walls, a sinister plot was already beginning to take shape. Kite mocked the ease of his betrayal, blinded by the promise of easy money. Every uploaded photo was a nail in the coffin of an innocent girl's future. Even his most loyal subordinate felt the crushing weight of the coming storm. The monster only laughed, dismissing the growing sense of dread as mere cowardice. Now the final, cruel trap was set to transform a star into a social pariah. Kita's arrogance shatters as he realizes someone is playing a dangerous game with him. A chilling message arrives, mocking the very man who thought he controlled the shadows. Panic sets in when he realizes his easy payday has turned into a nightmare. The weight of his own sins finally causes his composure to physically collapse. Even his closest ally can sense the sudden, suffocating shift in the atmosphere. The hunter becomes the hunted, as a secret photo proves he is being watched. The anonymous blackmailer demands results, reminding him that blood money always has a price. His blood runs cold when his true identity is casually typed out by a ghost. Desperation takes hold, as the master manipulator realizes he has lost all control. A simple mistake has exposed him to a monster even more ruthless than himself. The master manipulator's confidence shatters as a mocking message exposes his growing fear. But a twisted realization turns his terror into a chance for a massive payday. An anonymous buyer demands a compromising photo, pushing him toward a point of no return. This was the exact moment his soul was sold for the sake of cold cash. He boasts that no one else can execute a betrayal this perfect and cruel. The plan is set to ruin an innocent life, using a web of fabricated lies. Greed consumes him as he demands triple the price for his target's total destruction. A massive sum is placed on the table to seal the young idol's fate. Back in reality, he snaps at his ally while his world begins to crumble. The deafening silence on the line signals that the hunter has finally become the prey. A sharp notification breaks the silence as the first trap is finally set. The message confirms that his reputation as a ruthless fox is well-deserved. A massive fortune suddenly appears in his account, sealing his descent into darkness. Overcome by greed, he screams in delight at the price of his own soul. The promise of even greater riches pushes him to finish the job without hesitation. He bows in gratitude to the unseen hand guiding this path of total destruction. Beside him, a witness watches in horror as the true monster finally emerges. Sunset falls over the school where an innocent life is about to be shattered. She remains blissfully unaware that her brightest days are actually her last. Adoring fans surround the young idol, never suspecting the betrayal lurking just behind them. The snakes close in, masking their jealousy behind fake smiles and shallow compliments. They demand her private contacts and wealth, treating her like a prize to exploit. Ari trembles under the pressure, suffocating from the weight of their relentless greed. Suddenly, a familiar voice cuts through the noise to disrupt the predatory interrogation. A seemingly kind savior offers an escape, promising a moment of peace away. The young idol hesitates, caught off guard by this sudden hand of friendship. Before she can speak, a firm grip tightens around her wrist with startling force. She is dragged away from the wolves and into the clutches of a mastermind. Even as she winces in pain, the monster hides her true nature behind apologies. Ari finds comfort in a lie, never realizing she just met her ultimate destroyer. Ari returns to school only to meet the minimum attendance requirements for her career. Her sheltered life as an idol leaves her clueless about simple student joys. A classmate is shocked to learn the star has never tasted common school snacks. The global superstar admits the heartbreaking truth that she has never had a friend. A girl named Haeyong reaches out to offer the genuine connection Ari desperately craves. Overjoyed by the kindness, Ari finally lets her guard down for a moment of peace. They walk away together, unaware that a predator is watching from the shadows. The blonde fanboy struggles with the weight of the betrayal he is about to commit. His hands tremble as he chooses profit over the idol he once truly admired. The trap is set as the mastermind receives word that the target is vulnerable. The weight of betrayal begins to crush the soul of a once loyal fan. Days later, Ari follows her only friend into a path away from the light. Suddenly, Haeyong stops to reveal a dark secret hidden beneath her collar. A horrific bruise marks her skin, signaling a life filled with silent agony. Tears fall as she blames a violent father for the pain she endures. Desperate to help her only companion, Ari watches as Haeyong reaches for comfort. But the solace she finds comes in the form of a forbidden cigarette. The innocent idol stands frozen, witnessing a side of her friend she never expected. With a flicker of a lighter, Haeyong questions the strength of their new bond. She offers a poison remedy, forcing Ari to choose between her values and friendship. Ari stands frozen as a toxic invitation is thrust into her trembling personal space. Her supposed friend laughs it off, mocking the high stakes of heiress idol reputation. Beneath the playful smile lies a dark secret used to chain the innocent superstar down. Haeyong pleads for a shared moment of rebellion, twisting loyalty into a dangerous trap. The weight of the choice paralyzes Ari as her moral compass begins to shatter. The warmth vanishes from Haeyong's eyes, replaced by a cold and demanding pressure. With a shaking hand, the idol finally accepts the poison that will destroy her. Suddenly the trap springs shut as witnesses arrive to catch her in the act. While Haeyong whispers false comfort, a group of predators arrives to finish the job. The predators surround their prey, savoring the moment they finally break the perfect idol. The cold lens of a camera captures the start of a digital execution. Hidden in shadows, Kite prepares to manufacture a career-ending lie for profit. Years ago, he filmed the exact moment Eris' life began to spiral. Now, her brother finally hears the truth behind those orchestrated scandals. Broken by guilt, the former fan confesses to their twisted reporting game. Fury explodes as he demands to know how they destroyed his sister. Suddenly, the hospital door bursts open as a new storm arrives. Seol's eyes burn with a rage that promises no mercy for traitors. The ground shatters under the weight of an incoming, bone-crushing strike. She delivers a brutal kick to silence the man who betrayed her friend. Seol stands triumphant over the broken body of the man who dared touch her. She turns with a chillingly calm smile to check on the boy she protects. But her ally is a shell of his former self, collapsed in absolute defeat. The weight of the truth he just overheard has completely shattered his fighting spirit. Seol freezes as she realizes the boy witnessed the full extent of the betrayal. She scans the chaotic hospital room, searching for any remaining threats hiding in shadows. He trembles while recounting how those monsters targeted both his sister and dying mother. The realization of his family's suffering hits her like a physical blow to the chest. Total panic consumes him, as he wonders if he can even protect his mother. Seol screams his name, desperate to pull him back from the brink of madness. With tears streaming down his face, Ajin looks to his only ally for hope. But his spirit finally breaks under the crushing weight of the truth. Seol watches in horror as the once strong warrior collapses before her eyes. The hospital room falls silent as he lies motionless on the cold floor. Outside the sterile halls of the hospital, the war is only just beginning. Standing by her getaway vehicle, Seol prepares to handle the next phase alone. She promises to return with her broken friend after he recovers in safety. Ending the call, she hides her eyes, fueled by a new, cold determination. She turns her icy gaze toward the trembling traitor who knows too much. With a simple gesture, she summons him to face his inevitable judgment. Seol stares down the sweating traitor, questioning every word of his pathetic story. She raises a lethal fist, warning him of the price for a single lie. The coward trembles, pleading that his desperate confession is the absolute truth. She threatens to wake the broken warrior inside to verify his shaky claims. Silence falls as she looks away from the man she has sworn to protect. With their enemies scattered, she demands to know the traitor's next move. He admits their mastermind is gone, leaving the remaining lackeys completely powerless. The informant hesitates, sweat pouring down his face as he weighs his options. Her icy gaze pierces through his excuses, demanding a final, honest answer. A sudden, violent strike ends the conversation, leaving the traitor reeling in pain. She towers over the traitor, promising he will pay for his cowardice. The man stares back in pure terror, realizing his life is now forfeit. Her voice drops to a lethal whisper, demanding total atonement for his sins. Broken and sobbing, he collapses onto the pavement, begging for unearned mercy. She coldly rejects his apology because his words mean nothing to her. Instead, she orders him to confess to the unconscious warrior waiting nearby. His true penance must be offered to the sister watching from above. Meanwhile, in the sterile silence of the hospital, a grieving mother clings to life. Her tired eyes flutter open, burdened by the weight of an unspoken tragedy. Suddenly, the door slides open, signaling the arrival of a new, dangerous presence. Mom wakes to a living nightmare as a sadistic monster looms over her. He cruelly mocks her grief, accusing her of leeching off her daughter's tragedy. The villain sneers at her face, claiming her life is built on dirty money. Every second of her terror is broadcast live to a heartless online crowd. A sickening smile spreads as he whispers about the necessity of discipline. His expression twists into madness, laughing as he declares her total extermination. Trapped in her hospital bed, the mother trembles before the encroaching shadow. He raises a hand to strike, ready to crush what remains of her soul. A horrified eye watches the nightmare through the narrow slit of the door. Outside the room, her son stands frozen as the sound of violence begins. His mind fractures as the weight of his failure finally crushes his spirit. A blood-soaked vision of his sister demands to know why he did nothing. Her hollow eyes promise that their mother will soon share her tragic fate. Surrounded by the ghosts of his guilt, he lets out a soul-shattering scream. He gasps for air, realizing the nightmare was only a cruel mental trap. Awakening in an unfamiliar room, the warrior finds himself broken and disoriented. A familiar voice cuts through the silence, asking if his rest was peaceful. His mentor watches with a knowing smile, mocking the luxury of his recovery. Ignoring his own pain, he desperately asks if his mother survived the ambush. She assures him of her safety, shifting the focus back to his own survival. He lunges forward, pinning his mentor in a desperate and grief-stricken frenzy. Tears stream down his face as he demands to know if his mother survived. She stares back coldly, insisting that his mother is currently safe from harm. But the trauma takes hold as he screams about the monsters still hunting her. He mentions the name of a new predator, sending a shiver through the room. His body convulses as he tries to break free from his own physical weakness. A sharp strike to the chest halts his momentum before he can escape. With brutal efficiency, she forces his head back to snap him into reality. He collapses onto the bed, completely overpowered by her superior combat strength. She looms over him with a chilling command to finally stay silent and calm. He lies broken and breathless, haunted by the shadows of a relentless conspiracy. The enemy's reach extends everywhere, using low-level lackeys to track his mother's location. Desperation fills his eyes as he begs to know where they have taken her. His mentor reveals the grim truth that even she cannot find the restricted facility. He clings to the hope that his mother remains safe despite the rising danger. A heavy sigh of relief escapes him as he finally processes the narrow escape. She offers a rare, chilling smile while thanking him for his unexpected sacrifice. With a playful laugh, she reminds him that a human shield exists to suffer. Stunned by her sudden warmth, he struggles to find words for the strange tension. The hardened warrior turns away in silence, his face burning with an unfamiliar shame. She leans in close, teasingly asking why his face has turned so red. The veteran warrior pins him down, forcing the young man to face her. A dangerous smirk plays on her lips as she enjoys his obvious discomfort. She refuses to back away, pressing closer until the air between them grows heavy. His heart races as her breath brushes against his skin in this suffocating silence. Suddenly, a loud crash echoes through the room as he finally shoves her away. She hits the floor hard, complaining about her back after his desperate, panicked reaction. Her playful grin returns, leaving him more anxious than any battle ever could. Softening her gaze, she admits that he finally looks like himself again. The weight of his grief lifts slightly as he quietly accepts her strange comfort. Seol finally leaves the room, urging the exhausted warrior to get some rest. She promises a deeper conversation once the morning light finally breaks his silence. Darkness consumes the room as the light switch clicks under her steady hand. Alone in the shadows, he stares into the void of his own lingering trauma. A heavy sigh escapes him as he collapses back onto the cold, empty bed. His fist clenches tight, fueled by the burning embers of an unquenchable rage. Even in the quiet, the memories of his sister's tragedy refuse to fade away. Suddenly, the door swings open as his mentor returns with a mischievous smirk. She playfully offers her company, testing the limits of his shattered patience once more. His cold rejection echoes through the mansion, marking another night of restless isolation. The classroom erupts as the teacher screams for a student who isn't there. One traitor trembles as news of a sudden, suspicious car accident reaches the room. Strict warnings echo through the halls, ordering everyone to report any signs of trouble. While the teacher babbles, the mastermind behind the scandals checks his phone with indifference. Guilt and fear consume the lackey, his breath hitching as the walls close in. A heavy hand suddenly strikes his shoulder, sending a jolt of pure terror through him. The predator finally corners his prey, demanding a private conversation that feels like a sentence. Wide-eyed and paralyzed, the boy realizes there is absolutely no escape from this nightmare. Far from the school's chaos, a silent mansion stands under the bright morning sun. Inside, the survivors share a quiet meal, unaware of the storm brewing back at school. Seol suddenly realizes it is Monday, breaking the quiet morning with a sudden start. Ajin admits he is skipping class, fearing his mother's reaction to his absence. To cover for him, Seol calls the school pretending to be his older cousin. She offers to lie to his teacher, but Ajin quickly tells her to stop. With a bold grin, Seol promises a special lesson to celebrate his day off. Confusion fills the air as she mentions the tragedy that befell her own brother. She insists they must master cyber wrecker tactics if they want to fight back. Ajin trembles in despair, convinced he can never defeat a monster like Jungu. Seol clenches her fist, demanding he at least learn to protect his own life. Shocked, the boy realizes his mentor is teaching him how to fight as well. Seol decides to start with the basics for their next phase of training. Warm sunlight fills the room as the atmosphere shifts from violence to education. Ajin sits ready with his notebook, feeling completely out of his element. Transforming into a strict instructor, Seol introduces the concept of cyber wreckers. The sudden change in mood leaves the boy sweating and struggling for answers. She pierces through his confusion, demanding he uncover their true ultimate goal. Ajin hesitates, trying to comprehend the twisted logic of those who hunt online. From across the room, she insists that understanding their nature is vital. He suggests they simply crave attention and the joy of canceling others. Seol offers a bright laugh at his innocent and naive high school response. Ajin barely has time to process the sudden shift in the room's atmosphere. A brutal strike catches him completely off guard, sending him reeling backward. He desperately clings to his notebook while trying to understand this sudden violence. Seol coldly reminds him that her curriculum demands blood as much as brains. The boy screams in frustration, begging for a moment to just focus. But the floor beneath him cracks as the tempo of the lesson explodes. She launches a terrifying high kick that shadows his entire field of vision. Another heavy blow connects, forcing a pained cry from his lungs. She declares that moving at a normal pace will never be enough. Before he can even breathe, she vanishes into a blur of pure lethality. Ajin clings to his sister's memory while a predator closes the distance. A sudden, explosive strike sends him reeling as the room blurs into chaos. Seal's piercing red eyes reveal the cold reality of his desperate situation. He screams in terror as her fist shatters his only shield. A cruel, mocking smile spreads across her face, savoring his absolute weakness. She seizes his collar with an iron grip that offers no escape. She demands to know if he truly understands the purpose of this agony. He cries out for the lessons he was promised, drowning in confusion. With a chilling laugh, she confirms that this nightmare is his only classroom. Another brutal blow connects, proving that survival is the only grade that matters. The shadow of a failed payday looms over the quiet school grounds. Two conspirators meet in the courtyard to face their crumbling reality. Gravity pulls the traitor down as his pride finally hits the pavement. Trembling with fear, he renounces the blood money that once fueled his greed. Desperation chokes his voice as he begs for a way out of this nightmare. A cruel laugh erupts, mocking the sudden conscience of a broken man. The predator looms large, reminding his prey that there is no easy escape. A discarded spark marks the end of his status in the hierarchy of cruelty. Cold eyes demand a final confirmation of his total and absolute submission. Wide-eyed terror is the only answer left for a soul consumed by guilt. Kite asserts absolute dominance, forcing the defeated warrior to submit to his will. Haunted by failure, the brother stares blankly while nursing his physical and mental wounds. His mentor wonders why a warrior with such gifted reflexes refuses to fight back. She laughs off the tension, pivoting toward the digital filth poisoning the public mind. Sensationalist lies and manufactured scandals are the weapons used to harvest massive profit. In this twisted ecosystem, high traffic is the only god the predators worship. Even the most tragic legacies are cannibalized by vultures claiming to seek justice. The cold truth settles in that every betrayal was fueled by nothing but greed. Amidst the chaos, she suggests that some rare souls still act on pure conviction. Yet holding on to ethics proves nearly impossible when the entire world has no heart. The mentor laughs at his exhaustion, ordering him back to the lion's den tomorrow. She reveals a target, a man whose true nature holds the keys to everything. While he processes the mission, she mentions a brutal training session awaits him soon. Her smirk promises pain at the gym, but the real war starts at school. As the sun sets over the academy, the air grows heavy with unspoken threats. He sits in a classroom full of noise, hiding a killer's focus behind his desk. His golden eyes lock onto the target, the boy who orchestrated his sister's downfall. Across the room, the predator is now the prey, trembling under his own lies. Clenched fists and silent prayers won't save him from the storm that just arrived. The hunt begins now, stripping away the mask to reveal the monster underneath. He vows to drag the truth out of the monster who destroyed his family. Silence hangs over the academy as a hidden observer watches from the shadows. The mastermind tracks his every move, realizing he has finally joined the fray. Her contact screams in frustration, blindsided by the sudden shift in the power balance. A dark history begins to surface, revealing a weekend that turned into a war zone. She mocks her partner's sharp instincts, comparing his intuition to that of a predator. The mysterious caller known only as the mega whale demands her absolute attention. Their target is a savage beast who left both opponents and officials permanently broken. She brushes off the warning with a smirk, far too confident in her own games. Even as she is ordered to watch him, she wonders if anyone is truly safe. She brushes off the persistent warnings, annoyed by the constant interference in her plans. As the sun sets, the quiet school grounds hide a brewing storm of vengeance. Rage finally boils over as the brother corners the man who destroyed his life. He demands answers for the horrific betrayal that tore his entire family apart. With murder in his eyes, the grieving warrior struggles to contain his lethal intent. The once confident manipulator can only tremble as his world of lies finally collapses. One final question remains regarding whether the traitor feels any remorse for his sins. A single drop of moisture falls, shattering the tense silence between the two enemies. The brother freezes in shock, never expecting a sign of humanity from a monster. Sobbing uncontrollably, the villain begs for forgiveness while his mask completely falls away. The traitor admits his crimes, welcoming death as a just punishment for his sins. Blinded by fury, the brother screams for the pathetic man to finally shut up. Even as a fist looms, the coward refuses to beg for any undeserved mercy. Tears stream down his face while he vows to spend eternity repenting to Ari. Pure hatred fuels a strike that threatens to end this nightmare once and for all. The impact shatters the wall, sparing the life of a man who lost everything. With a terrifying gaze, the warrior delivers a final warning to stay away forever. Strength leaves the manipulator's body, as he collapses onto the cold, hard pavement. Prostrate on the ground, he can only offer hollow apologies for the lives destroyed. A trembling, bloody fist remains, as the only testament to a vengeance left unfulfilled. The scene shifts back to the aftermath of the warrior's brutal confrontation. A broken man trembles on the ground, seemingly crushed by his own guilt. His body heaves with every sob as he begs for a mercy he deserves. But as the shadows deepen, a terrifying, jagged smile stretches across his face. The pathetic act shatters into a roar of mocking, high-pitched laughter. Standing tall, the manipulator asks if his performance was perfectly captured on film. His accomplice clutches the phone, confirming every staged moment is now digital evidence. With a cold, hungry gaze, the mastermind demands to see his handiwork. They review the footage of the warrior standing over his supposedly defeated prey. Grinning like a demon, he praises the lackey for a job well done. The broken lackey pathetically begs for the torment of his targets to finally end. But the mastermind only sneers, clutching the evidence needed to destroy a grieving brother. He plans to twist the narrative, branding the innocent protector as a heartless bully. Meanwhile, high above the campus, the weight of the world crushes a lonely soul. Lee Ajin sits in the shadows, his spirit fractured by the endless cycle of violence. His bloodied hands tell the story of a battle he never wanted to fight. Rage and despair collide as he tightly grips the remnants of his shattered resolve. A heavy sigh escapes him just as the rooftop door creaks open behind him. He turns his weary gaze toward the intruder, expecting another fight to begin. Instead, his mentor arrives with a mocking smile, questioning his pathetic display of weakness. Ajin stares in disbelief as his mentor suddenly reappears on the school grounds. She nonchalantly explains that his silence forced her to come find him herself. Her sharp gaze drops, instantly noticing a detail he tried to hide. She demands to know the truth behind the fresh wounds covering his knuckles. He dismisses her concern with a blatant lie, claiming he simply fell down. Her playful expression twists into irritation at his pathetic attempt to deceive her. She ruthlessly mocks his lack of skill, while lecturing him on his violent impulses. Suddenly, she lunges forward and violently seizes him by the collar. With cold intensity, she asks if he finally completed the task she assigned. Ajin freezes in shock, overwhelmed by the terrifying pressure she radiates. She coldly reminds him of the brutal price he paid during their last encounter. Ajin can only stammer in fear as the weight of his failure sinks in. The conversation shifts to the hidden truth regarding the traitor's true, twisted nature. He reveals the shocking news that his sworn enemy actually offered an apology. This unexpected admission leaves her completely stunned and questioning everything she knew. Despite his burning hatred, he confesses he is paralyzed by his own indecision. She violently grabs him, disgusted by the sudden weakness displayed by her student. Looking down on him, she declares he is far too weak for revenge. With a heavy heart, the broken warrior finally accepts his mentor's harsh ultimatum. A terrifying smile crosses her face as she announces his hellish training begins now. Inside a vibrant hall, the next generation of fighters begins their arduous journey. These innocent faces mask a dedication to the ancient art of combat. Ajin stands paralyzed, staring at the sign of an unlikely training ground. Seol senses his hesitation, her eyes gleaming with a mix of mischief and malice. He shouts in disbelief, convinced that this humble dojo must be some sick prank. Before he can retreat, she lunges, trapping him in a grip he cannot escape. With a wicked laugh, she commands him to brace for the coming nightmare. Deep inside, a young student unleashes a roar of pure, unbridled determination. Yet his violent outburst is met with a cold, calculated defense from his peer. She sneers at his failure, asserting her dominance in this world of hidden monsters. Seol interrupts a childish squabble between the young students at the humble dojo. The children react with a mix of pure joy and stubborn annoyance. Amidst the laughter, Ajin stands frozen, completely out of his element. A massive, imposing figure suddenly looms over the group from the shadows. Ajin breaks into a cold sweat as he senses an overwhelming pressure. The legendary Taekwondo head instructor finally reveals his surprisingly exhausted face. The instructor notes how difficult it has been to contact Seol lately. Ajin remains paralyzed by the intimidating presence of this strange man. The master questions why Ajin possesses such a frustratingly punchable face. Ajin bows deeply as he is introduced to the man holding his future. The legendary master greets Ajin with a smile that hides a mountain of pressure. Young students immediately mistake the battered warrior for their mentor's new romantic partner. While Seol desperately denies the rumors, Ajin realizes he is in grave danger. In a heartbeat, the master's friendly facade vanishes into a terrifying, murderous aura. Just as quickly, the killer intent disappears behind a mask of polite innocence. Seol searches for her senior, completely unaware of the tension rising behind her. The master dismisses her concerns with a grin that feels increasingly like a trap. A massive hand suddenly clamps down on Ajin's shoulder with bone-shattering strength. He casually tells the boy to forget about romance while preparing for violence. Ajin's world explodes in pain as the master begins his brutal first lesson. The instructor's grip tightens, crushing the boy's shoulder with effortless, terrifying strength. Watching the display of dominance, a cold, mocking smirk creeps across her face. She teases that they make a perfect pair while he struggles to breathe. With a polite bow, she prepares to leave him to his brutal fate. Fear paralyzes his soul as he realizes the true monster standing right beside him. The master waves goodbye, casually mentioning the hellish training that awaits the boy. His only hope walks out the door, leaving him alone in this lion's den. The playful facade vanishes, replaced by an intensity that feels like a death sentence. He leans in close, checking if his prey is ready for the ultimate breaking point. Trapped and outmatched, he finally understands that his real nightmare is just beginning. A heavy hand on his shoulder snaps him back to a brutal reality. He looks down as memories of a simpler, happier time haunt his mind. A mysterious caller finally breaks the silence, dragging hidden players into the light. Behind the wheel, she confirms the young master has been successfully delivered. She hides the truth, knowing he already suspects the darkness she carries. The hunt intensifies as they navigate the concrete jungle for their next target. A name from the past surfaces, changing the stakes of this deadly game. New revelations about a former driver suggest a much larger conspiracy is unfolding. Time is running out to track the shadow responsible for the recent wreckage. To catch a monster, they realize they must rely on his unique, violent skills. Seol warns that the timing isn't right yet, insisting she will lead the charge. She reminds her contact that this mission is personal, fueled by a thirst for revenge. Accepting her role as the driver, she prepares for the lethal orders to come. The shadow of her vehicle vanishes into the sunset as the conspiracy deepens further. A heavy sigh escapes her while she stares at the cold reflection of her resolve. Elsewhere, the once fearsome warrior finds himself buried under a mountain of energetic children. They demand he mimic their poses, showing no mercy to the exhausted man below. Drained of all strength, he begs for peace from his tiny, relentless attackers. As the kids mock his weakness, a familiar face watches the humiliating scene unfold. A curious woman enters the room, her gaze locking onto the exhausted fighter. Caught completely off guard, Ajin offers a humble bow to the unexpected visitor. She smiles warmly, lightheartedly, mocking the extreme politeness of the young martial artist. Ajin's eyes widen as he sees his legendary mentor buried under a pile of children. The gym descends into chaos as the kids argue over Ajin's secret romantic life. Realization dawns on her that this is the man Seol handpicked for special training. Introducing herself as the instructor's wife, she forces a flustered Ajin to explain. The master pushes his luck with a joke about age gaps and forbidden love. Terrified of the consequences, the instructor frantically ends the session to escape. The chaotic training session finally concludes, as the restless children rush for the exit. Drained by the relentless energy, Ajin exhales a heavy sigh of pure exhaustion. Any hope for rest vanishes when the instructor suddenly forces him toward the shuttle. Caught in a daze, the battle-hardened youth struggles to process his new surroundings. Surrounded by bickering toddlers, he realizes that some battles cannot be won with fists. The master and his wife take their seats, ready to begin the long commute. As the yellow van departs, the neighborhood echoes with the sounds of childish insults. Dropping off the first student, the instructor offers a respectful bow to the parents. A sharp click of the lock signals the start of another long, noisy journey. The instructor's wife smiles, praising the group for surviving a grueling day of work. Beside her, the master playfully celebrates, while Ajin sits in a state of exhaustion. They bicker about dinner plans, oblivious to the heavy silence of their young passenger. Ajin stares blankly, his mind still reeling from the bizarre events of the afternoon. He wonders if babysitting toddlers can truly be considered a path to becoming stronger. Every fiber of his being craves real combat, not the chaos of a playground. The yellow van speeds through the city, carrying a warrior lost in his thoughts. A cheerful voice breaks his trance, dragging him back from the brink of sleep. Rubbing his eyes, Ajin apologizes, his bandaged hands a reminder of his mission. The eccentric master kicks him out of the van without a single word of warning. Jin stands stranded in the middle of nowhere, demanding to know where they are. The mission is simple, yet brutal. Run 15 kilometers back to the training hall. With a cheerful smile, the master leaves Jin alone to face this impossible distance. Panic sets in as he realizes he has no idea which path leads home. He frantically checks his pockets, but his only lifeline to the world is gone. A sudden noise draws his attention back to the departing yellow vehicle. The master taunts him by waving his stolen phone from the moving van window. Desperate and abandoned, Jin sprints after the madman who just stole his last hope. Inside the moving van, the master questions if his student can survive the night. He sneers at the boy's weakness, calling him far too soft for this world. His companion playfully smiles, asking if this brutal torture is truly necessary. The master shouts in panic as his driver laughs off his desperate warnings. He knows this is the boy's first encounter with such a ruthless trial. Through the glass, Ajin sprints through the darkness, gasping for every breath. The driver looks back, finally acknowledging the gravity of their secret mission. A sharp, predatory grin confirms that the real training has only just begun. The vehicle speeds away, leaving the broken boy screaming for them to stop. The glowing neon of a martial arts gym marks the end of his path. Ajin gasps for air, his body reaching its absolute limit under the night sky. Every breath is agony, as his vision blurs from the weight of sheer exhaustion. High above, two witnesses watch the boy struggle, reminiscing about past trials and grit. Without warning, his legs give way, and he hits the cold pavement like lead. Panic erupts inside the gym, as the girl berates the man for his cold indifference. She demands he take responsibility and bring the broken boy inside immediately. Hours later, her worried face is the first thing he sees through the fog. Dazed and battered, he barely recognizes the world as he slowly returns to consciousness. They offer a moment of mercy, providing water as the true training finally begins. The master smiles, declaring that the boy has finally passed the grueling entrance test. Drenched in sweat, Jin bows deeply while clutching a bottle of water in exhaustion. Behind a wall of gold medals, a promise of absolute strength is finally offered. With a piercing gaze, the teacher asks if he truly desires that ultimate power. Scars lining his face, the boy stares back with eyes burning like molten gold. A golden bell hangs as a silent temptation for those who wish to quit. From this moment forward, the training hall becomes his only world and home. The master delivers the final rule, demanding a perfect balance of ferocity and caution. A young girl breaks the tension, teasing the master for his overly dramatic speech. Flustered by the sudden mockery, the legendary fighter quickly hides his growing embarrassment. A cheerful instructor welcomes the boy to a new world of discipline and pain. Surrounded by strangers, the scarred boy listens as a student whispers a secret warning. Under the cover of night, he vows to push beyond his limits for revenge. The grueling regime begins with a simple demand for absolute, unwavering physical stamina. Every morning becomes a desperate race against his own failing, broken body. Teeth gritted in agony, he refuses to let the crushing exhaustion break his spirit. His muscles scream as the master points out his most pathetic, glaring weaknesses. But physical power is nothing without the mental fortitude to endure constant humiliation. Forced to babysit chaotic children, he learns to keep his murderous intent hidden behind smiles. Day by day, the weak boy transforms into a relentless machine fueled by pure spite. Ajin collapses under a brutal regime that demands his absolute, unwavering everything. Every breath is a battle as he pushes his broken body past human limits. The master's cold gaze never wavers, promising to watch his every agonizing move. Tightening his laces, he prepares to step back into a world he once feared. The transformation is undeniable, as the weak boy finally begins to stand tall. Weeks turn into months of relentless sprinting through the shadows of the city. High above the streets, a quiet rooftop meeting signals a change in the air. He has finally adjusted to the chaos, his voice now steady and confident. While he finds his footing, his mentor prepares for the storm yet to come. But even as he grows stronger, he wonders what burdens she still carries alone. She laughs off his concern, claiming she is finally eating and sleeping well. But he knows better, pressing her for information on the man lurking in shadows. Her expression shifts as she analyzes the puppet master pulling the target's strings. He listens in silence, the weight of their mission visible in his weary eyes. She pouts at his serious tone, annoyed that he won't just relax for once. Letting out a weary sigh, she prepares to dive back into the dark investigation. She teases him with a promise of fried dumplings once the job is finished. A rare smile crosses his face as he finds comfort in her familiar banter. Surrounded by surveillance gear, she cuts the line to focus on their next target. High above the school grounds, the first strike of a new war finally echoes. A mysterious fighter known as Veggie Guy dominates the ring with clinical precision. Every strike proves that pure technique can easily overcome raw, unrefined power. Rumors spread like wildfire as students question the origin of these terrifying skills. The school is reeling from news that the notorious Gite is currently hospitalized. Skeptics refuse to believe their strongest leader could be broken so easily. A witness reveals that Minjae was the monster who truly dismantled their leader. Minjae completely overwhelmed his target in a one-sided display of absolute violence. Even the most hardened thugs are starting to fear the shift in power. Terror strikes as they realize a legendary upperclassman taught Minjae how to fight. Hidden nearby, a regretful traitor listens as the consequences of his betrayal escalate. The weight of betrayal has left the once arrogant lackey broken and battered. Frustrated by his crumbling plans, Kite unleashes his rage with a sudden, violent strike. Trembling in fear, the subordinate can only beg for mercy from his ruthless leader. Kite realizes his inner circle is shrinking while his enemies only grow more dangerous. He demands to know exactly what happened while he was recovering from his defeat. The lackey reveals that the mysterious blue-haired mentor has yet to make her move. Enraged by the incompetence, Kite prepares to teach another lesson in absolute obedience. Desperate to survive, the traitor swears he has been monitoring his target's every move. A sinister smile returns as Kite regains his twisted sense of control over his pawn. The tension breaks as other students arrive, greeting their leader with nervous respect. Students bow in terror, offering a frantic greeting to the man they fear most. One desperate boy warns his peers to keep their heads down to avoid a beating. Kite stands tall, his presence demanding absolute submission from the gathered crowd. Even the mastermind is caught off guard by this sudden display of subservience. They reveal that news of the recent hospital ambush has already spread through school. Kite plays it cool, masking his confusion with a cold and dismissive attitude. The students finally vent their frustrations, thanking him for ending the old regime's tyranny. A subordinate begs to learn the fighting style that crushed their former oppressor. A realization hits, as Kite understands they have mistaken him for the victor. With a sinister smile, he realizes these fools are the perfect pawns for his plan. Kite reminds the defeated students of the humiliation they suffered at Ajin's hands. They scream in rage, desperate for any chance to get their bloody revenge. With a cold smirk, Kite offers to give them exactly what they want. The broken bullies immediately pledge their loyalty to this new, terrifying leader. He begins detailing a sinister plot designed to utterly destroy Ajin's reputation forever. The plan involves twisting the past, turning a brother's love into something monstrous. Using the same lies that broke Ari, he prepares to unleash the internet's fury. He will paint Ajin as the true villain who drove his sister to suicide. Even their mother's tragic coma is being weaponized as a tool for public execution. The trap is set to make the world believe Ajin is a heartless murderer. The world is forgetting Ari, so the villains pivot to destroying her brother instead. Hidden cameras click as a manufactured scandal begins to take its deadly shape. Kite leads the production with a chilling countdown, orchestrating a scene of pure deception. On his command, the broken bullies bow in a staged display of forced submission. The mastermind checks in with his bruised director to ensure the performance looks authentic. Terrified and trembling, the lackey confirms the trap is being captured perfectly on film. A sinister smirk spreads as Kite prepares to manufacture the ultimate believable proof. As night falls over the school, the shadows of this conspiracy grow even longer. The next morning, the classroom remains oblivious to the digital storm brewing nearby. With a few simple taps, the lie that will ruin a life is finally unleashed. Kite smirks with malicious satisfaction after a long night of weaving his digital web. His companion gazes in awe at the perfection of their fabricated reality. The villain laughs at how easily the truth can be buried under a lie. Doubts begin to surface as the lackey questions the true power of these images. Kite reveals his plan to hand the evidence to the mysterious ultimate authority. The mere mention of the big boss leaves his subordinate trembling in pure terror. Deep within the city's industrial shadows, a silent warehouse holds a dark secret. A lone black vehicle waits patiently under the cold glow of the streetlights. Inside the cramped interior, the physical toll of a long stakeout becomes clear. Exhausted and worn, Seal counts the grueling days spent hunting for the truth. A sudden call from a mysterious contact shatters the cold midnight silence. Seal groans in exhaustion, desperate to finally leave this grueling stakeout behind. She scrolls through viral videos of a fighter taking the internet by storm. A secret profile reveals the man is becoming far too dangerous to ignore. She demands the absolute truth behind the lies fueling these violent videos. The physical toll is undeniable as she realizes she hasn't showered in days. Her eyes remain locked on the gym where the target hides in shadows. Suddenly, the heavy doors swing open and the man finally emerges outside. Her pupils dilate in pure shock as she recognizes the warrior's face. She frantically grabs her binoculars and screams to cut the phone line. The warrior scans the perimeter, his senses heightened as he checks for hidden threats. High above, his mentor watches in disbelief as the situation spirals out of control. He moves through the shadows, unaware that every step is being meticulously tracked. Suddenly, the silence is shattered by a phone vibrating with an urgent, unknown call. He answers the boss, enduring a verbal lashing for his perceived lack of speed. The mastermind mocks his sudden viral fame, claiming credit for the chaos he caused. A sudden rustle in the darkness catches him off guard, freezing him in place. He looks down to find a stray cat weaving through the narrow, moonlit alleyway. The feline lets out a vicious hiss, sensing a predatory aura it cannot escape. He stands in stunned silence, realizing that even nature recognizes the monster he's becoming. The boss demands he exploit the viral sensation before the public's interest vanishes. He stands paralyzed in the dark alleyway, trapped between a rock and ruin. Manic laughter echoes through the phone, mocking his desperate need for a way out. He offers a submissive thanks, swallowing his pride to stay in the game. The mission is simple: generate 1 million views within a single week, or else. A seat at the high table is promised if he can prove his worth. He shouts his commitment into the night, desperate to please his unseen master. The line goes dead, leaving him alone with a task that seems entirely impossible. From the darkness, Seal watches his every move, her presence cold and calculating. She questions the frantic deadline, realizing the stakes have just become much higher. Seal senses a storm brewing as the 1-week deadline begins to tick down. She watches from the darkness, knowing the next 7 days will change everything. Meanwhile, the puppet master gathers his hounds beneath the cover of night. Kite smirks at his screen, already savoring the taste of a coming betrayal. His plan is simple: frame the hero as a monster to destroy his reputation. He declares his intent to turn the brother into the world's most hated man. Every move must be tracked, ordering his battered lackey to watch him constantly. The wolves are told to be ready to strike at a moment's notice. Then, his cold gaze shifts, singling out the next pawn in his sick game. The terrified boy trembles, realizing he is now part of a living nightmare. Kite barks a lethal command to hunt down the girl who knows everything. His trembling lackey questions if he truly wants to find that specific girl. A sinister smirk confirms that the hunt is no longer just a game. The boy stammers, desperately claiming their target has already vanished into hiding. Brutal violence erupts as Kite demands she be dragged back by her hair. Years ago, Ari was trapped by the very people she thought were friends. Haeyoung watched with a predatory gaze, orchestrating the idol's final, tragic shoot. Every cruel word was calculated to drive the superstar toward her own end. The ultimate goal was to frame her brother for the coming catastrophe. Now, the brother has awakened as a demon ready to burn it all. Seal stalks through the shadows, her red eyes burning with a hidden purpose. A sudden voice breaks the silence, catching the experienced fighter completely off guard. A mysterious man appears, offering a disarming smile, and claiming he means no harm. She quickly masks her suspicion with a fake laugh and a convenient lie. But a single detail triggers her instincts, raising a sudden and dangerous red flag. He maintains his friendly facade, inviting her to visit his nearby martial arts gym. Sensing the strange tension, she politely declines and prepares to make her exit. The stranger bows with perfect etiquette, seemingly satisfied to let the matter drop. They walk their separate ways, yet the air remains thick with unspoken secrets. Suddenly he stops in his tracks, as if he forgot one final chilling word. The stranger walks away, leaving Seal paralyzed by a message that changes everything. Her blood runs cold as she realizes the monster was standing right before her. A flashback reveals the humble beginnings where Ajin first learned to fight. A younger Lee Ajin poured his soul into every strike, desperate to grow stronger. But every offensive move is easily countered by his experienced teacher. The instructor moves with a terrifying speed that the boy cannot yet match. With a gentle smile, the master acknowledges how much his pupil has improved. Young Ajin beams with pride, finally feeling like his hard work is paying off. Then the atmosphere shifts as the teacher prepares to reveal a darker truth. A massive kick serves as a reminder that true combat is never a game. A heavy impact shatters the silence as the young boy struggles to defend. He barely manages to cross his arms against a strike that feels like lead. The sheer force of the assault sends him spiraling through the air like paper. He crashes and tumbles across the wooden floor, unable to find his footing. Gasping for air, he clutches his bruised ribs while coughing from the brutal shock. His mentor looms over him, coldly explaining that true growth begins with agonizing pain. But then, the sound of steel sliding from its sheath changes the lesson entirely. A blade glints in the light as a new emotion takes hold: pure terror. Through his confusion, he desperately asks his master why he would draw a weapon. The cold steel inches closer to his eye, marking the end of his innocence. Suddenly, a lethal blade swings toward his throat with terrifying, blinding speed. A powerful hand cinches his collar, leaving him no room to escape. He is slammed into the ground as the relentless assault continues without mercy. The attacker raises the cold steel high, preparing for a final, fatal blow. The blade plunges deep into his chest, sealing his fate in one strike. A desperate scream echoes through the room as he faces his own death. But as the darkness fades, he realizes the expected pain never truly arrived. He checks his body in disbelief, finding himself completely unharmed and without blood. The terrifying weapon reveals its secret, as the blade retracts into the handle. His mentor mocks his dramatic reaction, revealing the entire encounter was a cruel joke. Seol pulls Ajin to his feet, explaining the knife was never actually real. She reminds him that true control comes from understanding how enemies react under pressure. Panic is the ultimate weapon, quickly evolving into a paralyzing sense of pure fear. Ajin realizes this psychological warfare is exactly what he experienced in his past battles. He remembers dodging Kite's desperate strike, seeing the cracks in the bully's composure. The look in his opponent's eyes was unmistakable proof of a crumbling spirit, but when he faced the true mastermind, his strongest punch felt completely useless. Ha-young didn't even flinch, absorbing the impact as if it were a mere breeze. A monstrous grin spread across his face, revealing a level of insanity beyond comprehension. The memory of that overwhelming presence sends a violent shiver down his spine. Amidst the sweat of training, Ajin struggles to maintain his focus. A sudden vibration on the table shatters the quiet of the room. His mentor points out the mysterious caller reaching out so late. He reaches for the device, feeling an inexplicable surge of anxiety. The contact name on the screen causes his breath to hitch. Terror washes over him as he realizes the gravity of the situation. Miles away, a bruised lackey stands before a door marked with hate. Overcome by guilt, he stares at the scars of his own betrayal. He weeps uncontrollably while desperately apologizing to those he failed. The phone continues to ring, carrying the weight of a dark confession. The bruised lackey trembles, as the phone in his hand vibrates with terrifying intensity. He nervously checks his surroundings, standing before a door marked with stains of hatred. Desperation fills his voice as he confirms his location right outside the target's home. His battered face contorts in fear when the mastermind asks if the brother is inside. He lies through his teeth, claiming he followed the boy home and he is sleeping. A suffocating silence hangs as he waits for a response that might mean death. The lackey flinches when the cold voice on the other end finally acknowledges his report. The manipulator orders him to keep watch for 30 more minutes before disappearing into night. With a shaky breath, he ends the call, unaware of the web tightening around him. Miles away, the red-haired traitor stares at his screen with eyes devoid of any mercy. Kite watches the building, certain that his target is trapped like a rat inside. He mocks the idea of a warrior hiding out in a children's gym. The lackeys present their phone, confirming that the girl has been caught. The screen shows Ha-young being dragged away by a group of merciless bullies. Kite smiles through cigarette smoke, orchestrating a twisted trap for the siblings. Suddenly, the scene shifts to Seol facing a terrifying presence in the dark alley. She stands paralyzed as the mysterious man speaks of things he shouldn't know. He taunts her about her relationship with the boy she is trying to protect. Her heart sinks when he brings up the tragedy of the dead superstar sister. Seol flinches as he reveals the crushing truth that she is entirely alone. Seol tries to play it cool, desperately denying any connection to her ally. She backs away until her heel hits the cold, unforgiving brick wall. A predatory psycho lunges into her personal space with a bone-chilling grin. He mocks her while casually running his fingers through her long hair. Panic sets in as she realizes she is completely unarmed and vulnerable. The tension reaches a breaking point before a sudden vibration interrupts the encounter. The monster's bloodlust is momentarily halted by an unexpected phone call. His expression shifts from twisted amusement to a look of pure shock. He turns his back, greeting a mysterious figure known only as Gecko. Seol watches in silence, wondering who could possibly command such a beast. Ajin stares at his vibrating phone, a cold sweat breaking across his brow. An unknown number flashes on the screen, carrying an omen of absolute disaster. He answers with a cautious breath, unaware of the nightmare about to unfold. The caller identifies himself as a traitor, igniting a fire of pure rage. Beijing weeps through the receiver, confessing his role in the family's tragic downfall. Fury consumes Ajin as he demands to know why the snake visited his home. The terrified lackey begs him to listen, screaming that he is in mortal danger. A brutal strike cuts the confession short, silencing the witness in a single blow. He collapses onto the pavement as a bloodthirsty gang closes in for the kill. The call remains active on the cold ground, while ominous footsteps draw closer. A brutal assault mutes the caller's voice as the phone slides across the pavement. Back at the hospital, Ajin desperately screams into the receiver for any sign of life. His companion watches in silence, sensing the raw panic radiating from the broken warrior. Rage boils over as he crushes his fist, realizing his home is no longer safe. Even with his body failing, he refuses any help for the hunt that lies ahead. With eyes burning like gold, he vows to face the coming darkness entirely alone. Meanwhile, under the cover of night, a new player prepares to leak a deadly secret. A sweating snake frantically calls his master, boasting about a plan to ruin a reputation. He stands in the freezing air, met only by a chilling, predatory silence. He presents his forged evidence, unaware he is dancing on the edge of a blade. The desperate schemer boasts about his twisted plan to farm millions of views. He stands in the shadows, waiting for approval from his unseen master. He offers to repeat his past atrocities, just to stay relevant and powerful. Silence follows as his superior abruptly cuts the connection without a word. Pure rage explodes as the snake realizes he is nothing but a tool. He stands alone in the dark, struggling to contain his mounting frustration. A mocking voice cuts through the night, freezing him in his tracks. He turns to see the mastermind watching him with a condescending smirk. He spits out a curse as the shadow of betrayal looms over them. The elevator chimes, signaling that the time for games has finally ended. The elevator doors hiss open as Ajin steps into a silent, bloody nightmare. He follows a crimson trail, leading deeper into the heart of the building. Hateful messages scrawled on the walls signal that his enemies are close. A single word on a scrap of paper reveals their final location. He moves toward the roof, his heart beating with a cold, calculated fury. One powerful kick sends the heavy door flying off its hinges. He emerges like a ghost, eyes locked onto the prey he came for. The cowards are cornered, realizing too late that the hunter has arrived. Their leader spits in contempt, refusing to believe his reign is over. He holds up the note, asking if Ajin is ready for the end. The sadistic leader parades his broken prize, mocking the hero with a cruel laugh. Disgusted by their depravity, Ajin realizes these men have long since abandoned their humanity. The villain mocks his sister's final moments, turning a tragedy into a sickening joke. A cold fury takes hold as he prepares to unleash a lifetime of suppressed rage. With a bloodthirsty roar, the order is given to send Ajin to the grave. The mob surges forward like a wave of mindless violence, weapons raised to strike. They storm the stairs, desperate to crush the man standing alone in the doorway. He remains motionless as the shadows consume his face, hiding the monster within. An unseen observer notes that true victory comes when panic finally transforms into terror. His golden eyes ignite with a lethal power that signals their absolute destruction. The bloodthirsty mob surges forward, weapons raised to end his life. A sudden explosion of power leaves the attackers swinging at thin air. He defies gravity, soaring over their heads with the grace of a predator. The ground trembles as he lands behind them, ready to strike back. With impossible speed, he maneuvers through the darkness to secure the advantage. Terror grips their hearts as they realize their prey has become the hunter. A devastating strike shatters bone, proving this is no longer a fair fight. He tears through their ranks like a storm, leaving only destruction behind. Their leader screams in desperation, realizing they are completely outmatched. They charge one last time, unknowingly walking straight into their own funeral. He dodges a lethal swing, his reflexes sharpened by pure survival instinct. His fist tightens as he prepares to unleash a counterattack fueled by vengeance. A single, precise blow connects, sending the attacker reeling in agonizing pain. The wooden weapon whistles past his ear as he maneuvers with predatory grace. His golden eyes lock onto his prey, signaling the end of their assault. With a violent crack, he shatters their only weapon with effortless strength. The realization of his overwhelming power leaves the thugs frozen in absolute terror. From beneath the shards, a cold glare promises a nightmare they cannot escape. They scramble backward like cornered animals, realizing they are completely outmatched. Desperation drives their final charge as they scream for him to just die. He picks up the shattered remains of their only hope for survival. Ajin turns their own weapon against them with a chilling, silent question. The weight of their sins finally catches up as the monster awakens. His golden eyes burn with a hunger for absolute, cold-blooded retribution. One small movement is all it takes to end a pathetic life. Terrified of the Reaper, they pathetically beg for mercy and shift blame. With a single command, he grants them a final, undeserved chance to flee. They scramble into the night, dragging their broken pride along with them. A bloodied traitor clings to his feet, desperately seeking a forgiveness he lacks. He looks back with a gaze that offers nothing but icy, silent contempt. His golden eyes burn with a cold determination to uncover the hidden truth. In the quiet shadows, he tends to the wounds of a broken traitor. He softly asks the trembling man if the pain is still too much. Overwhelmed by his own sins, the former enemy can only weep and apologize. He offers a rare moment of kindness, saying that everything is finally fine. But the terrified man wails a warning about the monster still pulling strings. He remains composed, questioning what could possibly be worse than their current reality. The lackey screams that they plan to frame him using his own family. His gaze turns sharp as he demands every single detail of the coming betrayal. Elsewhere, the trap is set as they announce the arrival of Ha-Yong Lee. Kite waits with cold impatience, knowing the time for his move has finally arrived. But the girl he sought is already broken, her face stained with fresh blood. He lashes out in a rage, punishing his men for damaging his prize's face. Despite her injuries, Ha-young mocks them, laughing at their pathetic display of cruelty. Furious at her defiance, he seizes her hair and demands to know her price. She answers his arrogance with a single, insulting act of pure defiance. With a bloodied smile, she questions if he even understands her true disappearance. Blinded by hatred, he strikes her down, unable to handle her psychological games. She lies defenseless on the cold pavement as the monsters surround her broken body. Kite stares in silence, realizing his perfect plan is spiraling into a violent nightmare. Panic sets in as Kite demands answers from his trembling subordinates. The news breaks that the hit squad sent for Ajin has completely vanished. Fury erupts as the realization of his failing plan begins to take hold. His men exchange terrified glances, sensing the absolute chaos about to unfold. Kite realizes he must seize total control before his authority slips away forever. He commands their attention, desperate to maintain his grip on the crumbling situation. He vows to destroy Ajin's reputation regardless of what the big boss orders. A manic laugh escapes as he boasts about orchestrating his own sister's tragic end. His lackeys look down at the broken girl, wondering how to handle her defiance. With a cold glare, he decides to twist the narrative and rewrite their fate. The villains plot to frame Ajin by using a fake, battered girlfriend narrative. Kite smiles, knowing this staged scandal will generate millions of malicious clicks. Back in the present, a broken lackey reveals the mastermind's twisted strategy. He confesses they intended to steal heiress inheritance through this elaborate lie. Ajin realizes a much more dangerous shadow is pulling all the strings. However, the final order to execute the plan hasn't been given yet. On a cold rooftop, the subordinates waited anxiously for their leader's signal. Without that official approval, the entire operation remains in a lethal limbo. Ignoring the danger, Ajin prepares to hunt them down before they can react. He walks out alone, ready to face the monsters who destroyed his family. Ajin knows he won't be fighting this war entirely on his own. Meanwhile, the scarred warrior stalks through the shadows, cursing his failing luck. He can't believe he was outsmarted by a group of mere children. Suddenly, the silence of the night is shattered by a persistent, mocking ring. A call from his subordinate signals that the situation is spiraling out of control. He answers with a forced laugh, masking the murderous rage boiling inside him. But his composure snaps instantly as he screams at the idiot on the line. He berates his lackey for underestimating the gravity of their pathetic failure. With a lethal promise, he vows to butcher anyone who crosses him again. His eyes burn with a terrifying intensity as the betrayal finally sinks in. The brute stands frozen as his own subordinate abruptly quits over the phone. He remains motionless in the dark, processing the total collapse of his authority. Rage boils over as he crushes the device with his bare, scarred hand. A twisted, demonic smile forms while he vows to butcher every last brat. A sudden, blinding glare from the darkness interrupts his bloodthirsty thoughts. He stares down the approaching headlights of a vehicle charging straight for him. Seal sits calmly in the driver's seat, her eyes fixed on her target. He is genuinely shocked that a student would dare to challenge him like this. With a cold smirk, the girl floors it, letting the engine scream in defiance. He taunts her openly, questioning if she truly has the guts to strike. The tires scream against the pavement as the heavy vehicle lurches forward with intent. A massive shadow looms over the warrior, who thought he was the apex predator. He stands his ground with a twisted grin, mocking the girl's desperate attempt. But Seol's gaze remains icy and unwavering as she floors the accelerator. Blinding light swallows the alleyway, leaving the arrogant fighter with nowhere to run. His confidence shatters in an instant when he realizes she isn't planning to stop. The predator becomes the prey as pure, unadulterated terror finally grips his heart. Metal meets flesh in a violent collision that sends him flying through the air. He crashes into the filth, his broken pride buried under a pile of garbage. The engine hums a cold victory song over the man who dared to underestimate her. Seol looks back with a chilling grin, asking if he was truly that terrified. The broken warrior screams in rage, convinced she actually intended to kill him. She laughs, revealing the cold truth that his masters have already abandoned him. Reality hits like a physical blow, leaving the once arrogant fighter completely speechless. With a final insulting gesture, she dismisses him as nothing more than a loser. He collapses among the filth, his screams echoing as the car speeds away. Seol chuckles to herself, savoring the absolute destruction of his prideful spirit. Suddenly, the dashboard lights up with a surprising call from the grieving brother. She answers while racing through the dark, noting his sudden change in attitude. Wandering the lonely streets, Ajin finally swallows his pride and begs for her assistance. Seol laughs off the danger, finding amusement in being a hunted woman. Ajin admits he just contacted the one man who can change everything. The revelation hits him hard, leaving the desperate brother completely blindsided. She promises that their enemy will be forced into the light very soon. He searches her eyes for the truth, needing to know if this gamble works. Suddenly, the silence of the night is shattered by agonizing screams of pain. A cold-eyed observer watches the brutality unfold from within the shadows. A flashback reveals the moment a helpless girl was discarded like trash. Kate praises his goons for their cruelty while showing absolutely no remorse. He stands tall over his fallen prey, demanding total silence from his crew. Minjae looms over his battered victim, reminding her of the cold, cruel reality. He demands a recorded apology, using the camera to seal her final humiliation. Her face is a map of pain, yet something dark still lingers beneath. The sadistic mastermind grins while forcing her to raise her voice for the recording. Through tears and blood, she screams a forced confession for the world to see. But her unexpected words ignite a fuse of pure, unadulterated rage within him. He relentlessly stomps her into the dirt, desperate to control the shifting narrative. Even his own lackeys watch in horror at the sheer brutality unfolding before them. Frustration boils over as he realizes his dominance is finally starting to slip away. Deep within the shadows, a desperate hand reaches for a jagged glass weapon. He raises a heavy bottle to deliver a final, lethal blow to his victim. Panic spreads through his lackeys as they realize the situation has spiraled out of control. They hesitate to intervene, fearing a repeat of the disaster involving Ajin and Seol. Suddenly, a massive presence emerges from the shadows to block the path of violence. The red-haired bully sneers, refusing to back down even as the atmosphere shifts. He looks back with murderous intent, ready to crush anyone standing in his way. A cold command to stop echoes out, delivered by a man who shouldn't exist. Shock replaces his arrogance as the bottle slips from his trembling, numb fingers. The mysterious warrior ignores the threats, focusing entirely on the broken girl on the ground. He offers a rare moment of tenderness to the one who has lost everything. A towering figure descends like a guardian, shielding the girl from further harm. The red-haired predator recoils in confusion, demanding to know this stranger's identity. Ignoring the threats, the massive warrior gently lifts the battered victim from the ground. Insulted by the silence, the bully screams in a fit of fragile, wounded pride. He clenches a jagged weapon, preparing to strike a man who seems barely human. A brutal impact shatters the glass directly against the mysterious man's defenseless head. Despite the explosion of shards, the warrior remains as immovable as a stone monument. Crimson blood begins to flow, yet he stands tall without acknowledging the cowardly assault. A single, freezing gaze pierces through cracked lenses, paralyzing the bullies with primal fear. He simply walks past the monsters, carrying his precious cargo away from the chaos. The scarred warrior retreats into the night, carrying his battered cargo away. Left behind in the shadows, Kite seethes with a desperate, impotent rage. Knowing the enemy's cruelty, Seol insists they must calculate their next move. Ajin agrees, suggesting the Taekwondo school as their only safe haven. Time is a luxury they don't have as the mentor demands a deadline. A lone vehicle tears through the darkness, racing against an invisible clock. In the suffocating silence of an empty office, a single phone begins vibrating. The caller ID reveals the smiling face of the mastermind behind the betrayal. Suddenly, the digital image of the manipulator is obliterated by a violent strike. Breathing heavily, Kite arrives with a weapon, ready to end this nightmare. The trembling henchman wonders if crossing this line is truly a good idea, but the red-haired predator silences his doubts with a grip of pure iron. He reminds the coward exactly who possesses the power to destroy their enemies. A sudden, violent strike proves that mercy is no longer on the table. Leaning in close, he asserts his dominance over the regular thugs beneath him. He issues a final, chilling ultimatum to trash the facility within 30 minutes. A twisted smile reveals his true nature, as he prepares a deadly new plan. Meanwhile, the heavy atmosphere of the local hospital masks a hidden infiltration. Hae-young navigates the sterile corridors, her eyes hunting for a specific shadow. She finally discovers her target, calling out his name to end the search. A frantic confrontation erupts as he insists his injuries aren't the main concern. Tears stream down her face as she lashes out at his reckless disregard for life. Every drop of sorrow reflects the absolute chaos that has just been unleashed. The true victim lies broken in the hospital bed, battered beyond all recognition. He begins to recount the nightmare that unfolded in the shadows of the alleyway. Memories of a previous disaster resurface, proving their enemies have no limits. Desperation takes hold when they realize their only lifeline has been completely lost. A cold, hard resolve settles in her eyes as the situation turns deadly serious. Time is rapidly running out while they struggle to reach their last hope. The signal rings out until a sudden connection finally links them to their ally. An urgent call to the criminal division reveals a hidden connection to the past. Ajin sprints toward the training gym, oblivious to the trap waiting inside. He breathes a sigh of relief, thinking his mentor is finally within reach. The elevator chime echoes like a death knell as he reaches the second floor. A warm greeting dies in his throat the moment the doors slide open. The sanctuary has been turned into a slaughterhouse by a group of armed thugs. Emerging from the carnage, a familiar face wears a smile filled with pure malice. Shock turns to cold fury as Ajin recognizes the snake who betrayed them all. The exits are sealed tight, leaving no room for escape from this nightmare. Surrounded by enemies, the hunter has officially become the prey in this closed room. The traitor discards his old identity to begin a far more profitable betrayal. Kite laughs while recording the public execution of a legend's last remaining hope. Surrounded by paid monsters, Ajin hears the sickening truth of his family's ruin. The digital predator screams his intent to brand the boy as human scum. A mindless brute charges forward with a strike meant to end it all. But behind those golden eyes, the embers of a cold fury begin burning. He recalls the stolen warmth of a family before the world turned cold. He remembers the blood-red malice painted across the sanctuary of his home. Years of systematic abuse had already turned this brother into a hollow shell. Now, the shadow of his greatest tormentor looms over his broken, bloodied body. The haunting echoes of their past begin to bleed into the present day. Sial refuses to let him break, forging his spirit through relentless, agonizing discipline. They arrive at a hidden sanctuary where the path to vengeance truly begins. The air inside crackles with the raw energy of those preparing for war. Even in the quiet moments, the whispers of betrayal never truly fade away. A smiling master offers him a home built on blood, sweat, and iron. Years later, the shadows return to finish what they started so long ago. He moves with a lethal grace that no ordinary student could ever possess. One bone-shattering kick proves that the victim they knew is officially dead. Through the violence, he finally finds the clarity he has sought for years. With burning resolve, the brother vows that he will finally protect those he loves. He launches into the fray, a crimson blur delivering a heavy, bone-crushing blow. The thugs flinch in terror, realizing the victim they knew is officially dead. His golden eyes lock onto his prey, calculating every movement with cold, lethal precision. He knows he can win a duel, but the surrounding numbers remain the problem. Dropping into a combat stance, he prepares for the inevitable wave of desperate violence. To end this nightmare, he must first eliminate the leader orchestrating the chaos. The red-haired snake simply smirks, filming the carnage while mocking his hopeless struggle. He commands his cowardly lackeys to strike, reminding them that they hold the numbers. As the leader mocks him, the brother braces for the impending wave of violence. The mob finally snaps, charging forward with a collective roar of mindless violence. He moves like a blur, diving beneath a swing that would have been fatal. Skidding across the floor, he creates just enough space to breathe and reset. But the numbers are overwhelming as more attackers descend from his blind side. He braces for impact, his forearms shattering the wooden bats into useless splinters. Pain flares through his body, but his golden eyes burn with unforgiving fire. With a burst of explosive speed, he pivots his weight for a counterattack. A devastating kick connects, sending the first thug flying into the shadows. He doesn't stop there, slamming into the next target with bone-crushing force. Gasping for air, he stands tall among the wreckage of his shattered enemies. His golden eyes narrow as the pressure of the ambush reaches its peak. With a bone-shattering kick, he turns a wooden weapon into useless splinters. He grits his teeth against the exhaustion threatening to pull him under. Every movement is a calculated strike designed to bring his enemies to their knees. He stands tall over the fallen, his prowess drawing reluctant praise from the shadows. Desperate and enraged, the mastermind offers a blood bounty for his head. His lungs burn for air, yet his fighting spirit refuses to flicker out. Pain throbs through his battered limbs, a constant reminder of his physical limits. He clenches his fist, bracing for the next wave of mindless violence. Another attacker lunges forward with a crazed war cry, seeking his final downfall. Ajin weaves through the chaos, his movements a blur of lethal precision. He narrows his sights on the next target, closing the distance in seconds. The desperate thug swings wildly, screaming for the monster to finally stay down. But his heavy strike meets nothing but the cold air of a perfect parry. With a sharp pivot, Ajin shifts his weight to unleash a devastating counter. He spins with the grace of a predator, catching his opponent completely off guard. Those golden eyes flare with a terrifying intensity as he launches the finishing blow. Reality shatters for the bully as he realizes he never stood a chance. A single, explosive strike connects, sending the attacker flying through the air. As another body hits the floor, the mastermind watches his last defense crumble. Ajin gasps for air, his body reaching its absolute limit against the relentless tide. The coward filming the chaos mocks him, claiming the slaughter has become boring. He searches for more entertainment, completely blind to the monster he just unleashed. A roar of pure hatred erupts as Ajin finally snaps, calling out his executioner. He launches himself forward like a bullet, shattering the ground with desperate force. The villain freezes in shock as death stares him right in the face. But a massive shadow looms behind Ajin, ready to crush his final hope. Miles away, Seol races through the night, her heart heavy with a dark premonition. A sudden notification pierces the silence, signaling a shift in this deadly game. Confusion turns to dread as she learns her allies are already in the crosshairs. Seol's eyes widen as she realizes the horror unfolding near the school. A frantic voice on the line confirms Ajin has walked into a trap. She clenches her jaw, refusing to let another person she loves disappear. The caller demands she find the boy before the enemies close in. Seol agrees instantly, the weight of the situation pressing down on her. Meanwhile, at the training center, a bandaged warrior prepares for the next move. They discuss the girl's recovery, knowing she holds the key to the truth. The fallen mastermind finally opens her eyes, her face a map of agony. A black SUV tears through the streets, stopping at the gym with a screech. Seol bursts out of the car, praying that she arrived in time. Seol rushes up the dark stairwell, following a trail of fresh blood. Smeared handprints on the walls tell a story of a truly desperate struggle. Her heart pounds with fury as she curses the monsters responsible for this carnage. Every second counts while she sprints through the silent, oppressive corridors of the building. She bursts into the room, screaming for the boy before it is too late. But the sight waiting for her inside freezes the very blood in her veins. A dozen men lie broken and bleeding across the floor, in a one-sided slaughter. Amidst the wreckage, Ajin stands like a demon, clutching his final victim's throat. She desperately calls out his name, begging him to stop this madness right now. He slowly turns, his golden eyes devoid of anything but a cold, murderous hollow. Seol screams in terror, desperate to stop the boy from committing the ultimate sin. She lunges forward to catch his falling body before the darkness takes him. He hits the floor with a heavy thud, his physical limits finally shattered. She stands over him, frustrated that he pushed himself beyond the point of return. She shakes him violently, begging the broken warrior to open his eyes again. Ajin's vision finally clears as he recognizes the mentor who saved his life. He gasps out a warning that the coward responsible for everything is fleeing. Meanwhile, the true monster finds refuge within the neon glow of a cybercafe. He curses the slow connection while preparing to leak his most toxic video. The upload starts, a final gamble to destroy the family's reputation forever. The coward's escape is cut short as he hits the cold ground in terror. He looks up, realizing his nightmare is only just beginning. A shadow looms over him, mocking his pathetic attempt to curse his way out. The legendary fighter seizes him, her grip like a vice around his hair. Pure dread washes over his face as he stares into the eyes of death. She smiles, asking if he truly thinks he can speak with such blatant disrespect. Outside, the rain washes over a scene of absolute chaos and flashing blue lights. The lead investigator arrives, his expression hardening as he surveys the bloody aftermath. A colleague questions why he is even here despite his own failing health. He ignores the pain, focusing on the broken girl who holds the final truth. The detective stares through the downpour, his voice heavy with unspoken warnings. Seol sits broken in the rain, the weight of her past crushing her spirit. Her crimson eyes flicker with a pain that no amount of water can wash away. A gentle memory of a smiling face offers a haunting contrast to this cold reality. Every detail of that fateful night begins to rush back into her fractured mind. She remembers the first day they met, sheltered only by the rhythm of the storm. They sought refuge outside the bakery, bound by a tragedy that was only just beginning. High above the city, a dark tower holds the secrets of a family's brutal end. Investigators push past the tape, entering a tomb where the air itself feels poisoned. The stench of death lingers as they realize the true scale of this calculated massacre. Toxic rumors spread like wildfire, leaving nothing but death and discarded remains behind. Investigators sift through the wreckage, haunted by the weight of this senseless tragedy. A sudden, weak sound from the shadows shatters the heavy silence of the room. They freeze in place as a desperate sign of life echoes through the scene. They realize they aren't alone among the ruins of a life systematically destroyed. Throwing open the door, she finds a sight that makes her blood run cold. There she sits, broken and battered, a victim of the very chaos she orchestrated. Desperation takes over as she screams for medical help to save a fading life. An ambulance races through the storm, fighting against a clock that is ticking down. She carries the dying girl through the rain, refusing to let another soul perish. She collapses into the arms of the only person left to catch her. The weight of her sins finally breaks through her cold, calculated mask. A mentor offers a shred of mercy to the girl who lost everything. But that mercy comes with a price that must be paid in truth. The silence of the night is shattered by a desperate, tearful confession. She admits to the chaos she unleashed, and the secrets she buried deep. Yet even these tears cannot wash away the blood on her hands. In the cold rain, an unlikely bond forms amidst a field of wreckage. The scene shifts to the sterile halls where lives hang by a thread. He wakes up to a world forever changed by the violence he survived. A familiar face watches over him, as the fog of unconsciousness finally begins to lift. Ajin jolts awake in a panic, his voice cracking as he recognizes his mentor nearby. The sterile hospital walls offer no comfort to a warrior broken by a brutal ambush. Burdened by guilt, he apologizes for the chaos that destroyed his sanctuary and his school. But his master offers a thumbs up, praising the strength he showed under pressure. He reminds his student that survival was the only lesson that truly mattered that night. As the mentor walks away, he urges the boy to stop carrying the world's weight. The conversation turns dark as the master reveals he knows about the treacherous Neotubers. Shock washes over Ajin as he realizes his secret war is no longer a secret. The truth comes from an unexpected source, a girl who finally chose to speak up. Ajin erupts in fury, refusing to believe his sister's betrayer deserves a single word. His master remains calm, urging the boy to face the uncomfortable truth before him. With a slow, deliberate movement, the privacy curtain is pulled back to reveal everything. Across the sterile room lies the broken mastermind who once pulled all the strings. Battered and tearful, Hyung finally offers a weak greeting to the brother she destroyed. She begins her confession, recalling how she stood by while Ari was publicly humiliated. The betrayal was effortless, a simple act that filled her hands with blood-stained cash. Every lie she told bought her the luxury she craved at her friend's expense. But the easy life of a conspirator began to crumble under a new threat. Suddenly, the group of bullies discovers a secret that changes the game entirely. The news of Era's death hit the group like a sudden, violent physical blow. Her classmates couldn't fathom why a girl who had everything would end it. While they gossiped about the tragedy, Ha-young felt her entire world go cold. She desperately tried to rationalize the suicide as a moment of simple, mindless panic. But the weight of her sins was far heavier than any lie could cover. Soon, the silence of her apartment became a breeding ground for pure, unadulterated terror. It started with a rhythmic dripping, a sound that shouldn't exist in the dark. When she finally dared to look back, the air turned into freezing ice. A broken, vengeful spirit had returned from the grave to collect a blood debt. Every night became a screaming nightmare from which there was no possible escape. Forced into the streets, Ha-young spent her nights wandering through the cold city lights. With her money gone, she had no choice but to hide among fellow runaways. Her fragile sanctuary was shattered when a group of dangerous strangers cornered her. A scarred thug immediately recognized her face from the scandals that ruined her life. Suddenly, a massive, tattooed enforcer violently shoved the lackey aside to claim her. His eyes burned with a predatory intensity that made her entire body freeze. He leaned in close, taunting her with a terrifying recognition of her dark past. The lackey frantically confirmed she was the girl from the infamous viral tragedy. Enraged by the interruption, the leader threatened to send his subordinate to the hospital. The leader cleared his throat, signaling that her fate was now in his hands. The predator offers a sinister partnership to the girl who ruined everything. Trapped and trembling, she gazes up at the man holding her fate captive. Realization hits like a physical blow as she identifies his dangerous connections. Meanwhile, the cold shadows of the gym hide a much darker secret. The leader mocks a pathetic attempt at manipulation while his captive watches. A brutal strike silences the fraud who thought he could play this game. Battered and broken, the mastermind's pride is ground into the dirt. The enforcer laughs at his comrade for serving such a pathetic loser. Shamed and defensive, the scarred warrior struggles to justify his humiliating choices. It turns out even the deadliest men will sell their souls for cash. The predator flashes a twisted grin, mocking the pain of a fallen man. He offers a chance for the scarred warrior to reclaim his stolen pride. A cold glance falls upon the coward, who once thought he was untouchable. With teeth gritted in desperation, the warrior accepts the dark path of vengeance. The leader demands a sacrifice, ordering him to strike the pathetic, bound loser. A piercing gaze leaves no room for hesitation or a change of heart. Overwhelmed by fear, the subordinate screams his submission to the new order. A brutal blow connects, shattering the final ties of their former alliance. The leader laughs as he watches a trembling hand reclaim its lost dignity. Betrayed and battered, the fallen mastermind stares up at his former loyal soldier. The coward begs for mercy behind a gag, his eyes wide with pathetic regret. A bone-shattering strike silences his apologies, marking the end of his hollow influence. Driven by pure rage, the scarred warrior rejects any plea from his former ally. The violence spreads, casting a dark shadow over the sanctuary of a local academy. A sign of closure stands as a grim reminder of the lives ruined by greed. Amidst the wreckage, a broken master sweeps the shards of his shattered peace away. In the cold light of day, the weight of their choices finally begins to settle. Shaken and bandaged, the young brother can only offer a whisper of hollow regret. The investigator warns that this isn't a game, it's a descent into criminal madness. Tension explodes as she realizes they have been training a monster for bloody war. Desperate and broken, Ajin shouts that the brutal training was his own choice. Haunted by the loss of his family, he felt himself slipping into total darkness. A single golden eye reflects the moment Seol finally agreed to guide his rage. But the investigator demands to know how this dangerous alliance even began. Tension fills the room as they prepare to reveal a secret that changes everything. Seol confesses her true identity as a driver for a ruthless cyber wrecker. The revelation leaves the detective stunned, questioning the girl's true intentions and loyalty. She explains her role in hunting social scandals to fuel the digital underworld. Seol admits she only approached the boy to shield him from his own suffering. Despite her sympathy, the investigator insists that vengeance is a matter for the law. Yu-gyong freezes as the harsh reality of a broken system finally settles in. Seol's voice trembles as she recalls the digital execution that destroyed her world. A single fabricated lie about her family's business gathered millions of bloodthirsty views. The faceless masses fueled the fire until their baseless hatred claimed 2 innocent lives. She screams into the void, haunted by parents who chose death over dishonor. Now she demands to know why the law protects villains while victims bleed out. Ajin reaches out, his silent grip the only thing keeping her from total collapse. The heavy silence in the room mirrors the crushing weight of their shared trauma. The investigator warns that seeking justice outside the law will only lead to ruin. Broken and exhausted, she finds a moment of fragile peace against her only ally. The investigator demands an end to this reckless cycle of blood and pain. Her heavy silence is a ticking time bomb fueled by absolute betrayal. She swears to burn the world down alone rather than accept help. A desperate hand tries to anchor her before she slips away forever. A sharp strike rings out as she is forced to face reality. The broken warrior watches helplessly as she walks toward her certain doom. Unaware of the storm, an ally checks for news of their survival. She rushes past him like a ghost possessed by a dark purpose. The sudden realization of her intent leaves him frozen in pure terror. He charges forward, screaming her name against the encroaching shadows of fate. A desperate hand reaches out to finalize a pact between broken allies. Kite releases his companion, entrusting him with the safety of their remaining friend. Despite his wounds, Ajin offers a final smile to ease their heavy hearts. He vanishes into the corridor, racing toward the chaos waiting outside the walls. Left behind in the silence, 2 survivors share a look of profound exhaustion. In the wreckage of the hospital, they find a brief moment of shared comfort. Meanwhile, a black vehicle tears through the city streets like a silent predator. Inside the car, the tension between the 2 warriors is thick enough to cut. Seol breaks the silence, demanding to know if the crucial evidence was secured. Ajin confirms the success of the mission while struggling with his own mounting guilt. Ajin struggles to keep his composure as the weight of the mission settles in. They speed toward a dangerous meetup where professional killers are known to gather. The scale of the operation suggests a massive corporate power pulling the strings. Seol argues that mere internet fame cannot fund an army of private bodyguards. Ajin recalls a chilling detail from a survivor that changes everything they knew. Earlier in the hospital, a battered witness shared her final piece of the puzzle. Just as he prepared to leave, she desperately grabbed him to reveal the truth. She whispered about a name the shadow organization mentioned during her brutal interrogation. The realization of their true enemy leaves Ajin paralyzed with pure, unfiltered shock. Seol recognizes the name as the ruthless rival company lurking in the shadows. Ajin finally confirms the truth despite the heavy toll on his broken body. A black SUV screeches to a sudden halt at their secret meeting point. He stares out the window, questioning exactly where they have been brought. They stand before Session Daily, a massive news titan holding all the answers. Walking into the bustling lobby, the true weight of their mission begins sinking in. A mysterious voice recognizes them instantly, calling out a code name from the shadows. A silent guard bows low, ushering the duo deeper into the corporate fortress. They follow him through sterile halls, unaware of the secrets waiting ahead. The path leads them to a restricted door guarding the building's private archives. While Seol jokes about the tension, Ajin senses a far more dangerous truth. A single security card grants them entry into the heart of the media giant. The heavy doors click shut, sealing them inside a room filled with forgotten truths. Every step through the archives echoes with the weight of the secrets they seek. In the shadows, a lone figure sits surrounded by a wall of digital screens. Seal breaks the silence, calling out to the mysterious man holding all the cards. The chair slowly turns, revealing the face of the man who controls the narrative. Meet Blue Whale, a powerful influencer and the guardian of the city's most dangerous data. He greets Ajin with a firm handshake, claiming he already knows his entire story. While Seal clarifies his legendary status, the confused warrior struggles to process the truth. Mocking his ignorance, she laughs as they prepare to dive into the digital abyss. Blue Whale offers a video as his true introduction to the weary warrior. He calls this digital revelation a gift for their very first meeting. With a single tap, the screen flickers to life, beginning the exposé. The narrator speaks of global tragedies that once brought the world to a standstill. He contrasts those horrors with the fleeting joy of a successful rocket launch. But the cycle of violence continues, as wars ravage distant, broken nations. He questions why society blindly believes every hateful clickbait title they see. Even his own massive platform is just another tool in this digital war. On every street corner, the public feeds on the misery of complete strangers. They share the destruction of lives just because the scandal feels juicy. An anonymous voice declares that this cycle of digital cruelty must finally end. He risks everything to expose the truth behind the superstar Ari Lee's tragic end. With a single keystroke, the secrets of a hidden murder are unleashed online. Ajin struggles for breath as the weight of the revelation hits his shattered mind. Seal reminds him that the public only knows the lies fed to them. They still haven't unmasked the mastermind known as Gecko pulling the strings. Fueled by rage, Ajin vows to hunt down every person involved in the conspiracy. The mysterious influencer watches the boy's burning resolve with a calculating gaze. A dark smile spreads as he realizes he has found the perfect weapon. Together, they stare at a location that holds the key to their vengeance. The towering headquarters of Jace Entertainment hides a rot deeper than anyone imagined. Seal warns that these industry giants are just as corrupt as the lying media. A complex web of greed connects every low-level driver to the shadowy mastermind. But a terrifying question remains regarding the true power lurking above the agency. Even with all his resources, the influencer can only rely on a dark hunch. This path to justice will be more dangerous than any battle fought before. Despite his shattered body, Ajin clenches his fist with a lethal, burning resolve. Knowing they need more than just strength, his ally searches for a secret weapon. Ajin stares in shock as he is handed a tool to expose the truth. One click will broadcast their hunt for vengeance live to millions of waiting eyes. Seal fumes as the mastermind refuses to grant her access to their secret operation. Ajin learns that their broadcast channel is merely one piece of a larger puzzle. The leader reveals a hidden hierarchy that leaves his companions in utter disbelief. An anonymous network of specialists stands ready to dismantle the lies of the powerful. Gripping the phone, Ajin realizes he now holds a weapon that commands the masses. His ally rejoices as he officially becomes the driver of their collective retribution. Strict warnings are issued because this power is far too dangerous for reckless hands. Amidst chaotic laughter, the instrument of their enemy's downfall is finally secured. The hunt moves into the shadows of the city as their mission begins. Ajin ponders the true motives behind the brutal attacks as he prepares for war. Seal realizes they need a bridge to connect the villains and expose their alliance. Ajin tracks their missing link, wondering where his target has disappeared to. They weigh the risk of losing evidence against the chance of finding their prey. A daring plan takes shape as Seal suggests luring the enemy into a trap. The warrior questions the strategy, while his mind calculates the lethal possibilities ahead. Speeding through the neon city, they recall the brutal history between their rival factions. Snapping the notebook shut, they lock onto the secret location of the runaways. With cold determination, Ajin confirms that their hunt will finally lead them there. A sinister grin spreads across Seal's face as the thrill of the hunt begins. The car screeches across the asphalt, racing toward a confrontation that will change everything. The shadows of a decaying alleyway hide the secrets of a deadly game. Checking the intel, they confirm this is the lair where the runaways hide. Every step forward echoes through the silence as the tension reaches a breaking point. The basement entrance looms ahead, marking the final stop of their relentless hunt. A cold steel baton snaps into place, ready to deliver a brutal reckoning. Warning him of the unknown danger, she sees only lethal focus in his eyes. They descend into the darkness where the air grows heavy with the scent of blood. A scarred hand reaches for the handle as the silence is shattered by a creak. Exchanging a final silent nod, they prepare to face whatever monster waits inside. The door swings open to reveal a scene that will change their lives forever. They step into the darkness, the click of a flashlight cutting through the heavy silence. Rotting trash and discarded remains suggest this hideout was recently teeming with life. Every corner of the abandoned kitchen holds the lingering shadow of their vanished prey. A sickening stench hits him, the unmistakable odor of decay and neglected living. Examining the fresh waste, she realizes their targets couldn't have gone very far. The apartment stands frozen in chaos, seemingly devoid of any remaining souls. He questions if they missed their chance, and the monsters have already fled. They split up to scour the rooms, unaware of the trap closing around them. From the darkness of a hidden crack, a predatory eye watches their every move. A sudden rustle shatters his focus, proving they are far from alone in here. Ajin's eyes widen as the chilling truth finally comes into view. He lunges forward, desperate to catch the shadow before it vanishes. A heavy door slams shut, echoing through the silent, decaying apartment. His scarred hands reach out, but he is already a second too late. The metallic click of the lock signals their sudden, terrifying imprisonment. He shakes the handle with all his strength, but the barrier holds firm. Cold sweat drips as he realizes they've been lured into a deadly cage. Seal rushes in with her flashlight, sensing the rising tide of panic. The trap has finally sprung, sealing them within these haunted walls. She screams for them to move, knowing the real nightmare is just beginning. Ajin freezes in shock as the cold reality of the trap finally hits. Their boots skid across the floor as they scramble to react in time. He throws himself toward the exit, but the heavy door is already closing. The sound of metal slamming shut echoes through the hall like a death knell. Seal desperately batters the barrier, her eyes burning with a fierce, red resolve. He pauses to check her condition, but she refuses to waste a second. She commands him to leave her behind and hunt the fleeing targets down. The hooded culprit dashes into the night, thinking the escape is already secured. Fury ignites within him as he promises they will pay for this insult. He charges into the darkness, a vengeful ghost that refuses to be caged. The hooded culprit gasps for air as he desperately flees into the urban maze. Ajin bellows for him to halt, his voice echoing with raw, unbridled fury. Seal scoffs at the demand, knowing a monster like this will never surrender. Her crimson eyes sharpen with cold calculation, searching for the perfect tactical advantage. Suddenly, she halts her stride, spotting a narrow path to trap their prey. She screams for Ajin to force the coward into the alley on their right. The target remains silent, his only focus being the distance between him and justice. With a sudden burst of speed, the chase spills into the tight backstreets. Ajin skids across the pavement, refusing to let his sister's killer escape again. He ignites his pace, a vengeful shadow closing in for the final, violent confrontation. Ajin's voice cracks with fury as he demands the fleeing shadow finally face him. The target grits his teeth, realizing his escape route is narrowing by the second. The high-speed pursuit spills into a dead end, the hunter and prey nearing a climax. Seal steps out with a chilling smile, mocking the coward for falling for her trap. A look of pure horror washes over him as he realizes he is completely cornered. With a vicious swing, she promises that his pathetic life ends right here and now. He cowers in terror, the once arrogant killer reduced to a trembling, broken mess. The man hits the ground, wailing for a mercy he never showed his victims. Seal pauses in disbelief, caught off guard by such a spineless display of weakness. Ajin stares down at the weeping wreck, unable to believe this is his ultimate enemy. A cold hand reaches out, stripping away the mask of a hidden watcher. The intruder freezes in terror as his connection to the enemy is instantly revealed. He frantically claims that he is also searching for the man who betrayed them. Ajin and Seol exchange a look of pure disbelief at this unexpected confession. He shouts about stolen money and a secret hideout where his target is nesting. Seol leans in closer, demanding to know if the lethal Kitai is also nearby. The trembling man admits that Kitay has been prowling the city under night's cover. A chilling laugh escapes Seol as she mocks the fool for entering a death trap. He drops to his knees, sobbing for a life that hangs by a thread. Ajin scolds the pathetic wreck, disgusted by such a spineless display of pure fear. Ajin delivers a final, bone-chilling warning to the coward before letting him flee. Seol piece the puzzle together, realizing their targets were hiding in plain sight. To find the truth, they had to return to the place it all started. Meanwhile, at the school, a group of predators cornered their next helpless prey. These ruthless bullies ransacked a student's bag, hunting for any scrap of stolen cash. The victim could only tremble as they mocked his bloodied face and empty pockets. Just as they prepared to bleed him dry, a shadow loomed over their shoulder. The beaten boy looked up, witnessing a nightmare descending upon his tormentors. Seol appeared like a vengeful ghost, trapping the thugs in her deadly embrace. In an instant, the hunters became the hunted, paralyzed by a power they couldn't comprehend. A scarred hand clamps down on the bully's shoulder like a predator's trap. Ajin demands to know where the leader is hiding while the thug trembles. The bully stares back in disbelief, realizing he just crossed a true monster. Nearby, Seol effortlessly restrains the remaining lackeys who have already been broken. The lead bully tries to act tough, mocking Ajin for his reputation. He drops his bag to the concrete, foolishly preparing for a physical confrontation. The thug repeatedly jabs Ajin's chest, desperately trying to provoke the silent warrior. Losing his patience, the bully swings a heavy punch aimed directly at Ajin's face. Without flinching, Ajin catches the fist with a speed that defies human reaction. The hunter is instantly pinned, screaming as his bones begin to buckle under pressure. Ajin demands to know the truth, his cold gaze piercing through the thug's resolve. The terrified bully screams back in a desperate attempt to maintain his fading pride. A thunderous kick from Seol instantly silences his defiance, sending him crashing down. She mocks their pathetic silence, reminding them that asking nicely was never an option. Broken and battered, the coward finally spills everything about the runaway's secret location. Ajin narrows his eyes, confirming if his target was truly spotted with that group. Seol playfully smacks his head, delighted by how quickly their tough facade crumbled. The atmosphere turns lethal as Ajin crushes another throat, warning them against lying. Total terror takes over as the victim begs for mercy, swearing he is not lying. Satisfied with the intel, the duo walks away, leaving behind a trail of broken spirits. Ajin and Seol provide a rare moment of mercy to a broken survivor. Seol offers a playful wink, momentarily hiding the predator beneath her surface. The boy stands paralyzed, stunned by the unexpected kindness from such dangerous people. He desperately tries to hide his blushing face, blaming the heat for his embarrassment. The brief peace shatters as time skips forward into the neon-lit city nights. Now, living in hiding, the survivor works a low-level job to stay unnoticed. Exhaustion weighs heavy on his soul, a constant reminder of his physical limits. He worries that his clumsy acting won't be enough to fool his enemies. The air turns cold when local thugs mention following orders from a mastermind. Absolute terror strikes his heart as a name from his nightmares returns. A group of delinquents thinks they've found a quiet spot to hide and smoke, but a massive streamer emerges from the shadows to broadcast their shame to thousands. Recognition turns to pure horror as a survivor realizes exactly who has arrived. The legendary One Punch Man corners the teens, demanding to know their age. A twisted smile spreads across his face as he mocks their fragile health. His online audience watches in awe as the atmosphere turns suffocatingly heavy. Despite the tension, a viewer insults him for lacking original content. The insult strikes a nerve, prompting the streamer to escalate the violence. With a single, devastating blow, he shatters his victim's skull in front of everyone. He looks back at the camera, asking if they are finally entertained now. Kide watches from the shadows, cursing the man who turned his life into hell. Outside the school, a black SUV waits as the heavy atmosphere begins to shift. The survivors sit in silence, trying to ignore the scars of their recent battle. Ajin looks back with gratitude, thanking his friend for choosing to stand by him. But the warning is grim. Jungu is a monster that no one should approach. Haunted by his own weakness, Kite realizes that standing still is no longer enough. He clenches his fist, fueled by a desperate need to finally be useful again. With trembling fingers, he prepares to make a move that could cost him everything. The message is sent, confirming that the target has finally been located. Driven by a dangerous resolve, he decides to follow the predator into the night. Haunted by his own weakness, Kite vows to never be a bystander again. The city remains deceptively calm as the shadows begin to shift and move. With a heavy heart, the survivor steps into the night seeking his answers. He tracks his target through the streets, closing the gap with every step. Ajin remains focused on his meal, unaware that an ally is closing in. Cryptic messages suggest their hunt for the truth has hit a dead end. Deep down, they know the corruption they face is larger than they imagined. Seol monitors the situation from afar, worried about their contact's sudden silence. She jokes about their plan, knowing the first punch changes everything. A sudden greeting shatters the silence, bringing the two allies face to face. Ajin's gaze narrows as he recognizes a name that should have stayed buried. Unaware he is being watched, the target discusses a sinister deal for tomorrow. Every movement is calculated as the hunter prepares to strike from the shadows. From the safety of her car, Seol watches the deadly game unfold in silence. He stalks his prey through the neon streets, closing the distance with predatory grace. A sudden notification shatters the tension, threatening to expose his covert pursuit. Sensing a presence, the veteran fighter casts a sharp, suspicious glance behind him. Ajin maintains a chillingly calm facade while walking directly past his unsuspecting mark. Confusion flickers in the target's eyes as he senses something is deeply wrong. Fearing a trap, the man retreats, unaware that his fate is already sealed. Ajin stares at his screen with the cold intensity of a predator awaiting a signal. The long-awaited confirmation arrives, and he types back with a grim, decisive finality. The hunt has officially begun as he realizes their first target is finally cornered. In the back of a moving van, Seol prepares for the chaos about to erupt. Silence becomes his greatest weapon as he mutes his device to vanish into the night. Seol rushes through the streets, frantically searching for the monster she just let loose. He has slipped into the shadows of a narrow alley where no witnesses can interfere. A sudden flash reveals a new player is already tailing the target from the darkness. Trembling and battered, the desperate survivor realizes he is being hunted by someone far worse. A sadistic grin marks the end of the line as the camera starts rolling for blood. Jungu sneers into the camera, basking in the glory of his own staged violence. The broken victim lies defeated while the online mob hungers for more. Viewership numbers explode as bloodthirsty fans flock to the live execution. A manic grin spreads across his face as he discards his old allies for fame. Standing over his prey, he demands the audience choose the next brutal act. But the digital world turns dark as the stream is flagged for excessive cruelty. Shock turns to pure rage when he realizes his platform has been cut short. He crushes his equipment underfoot, unable to contain the violent impulse within him. The monster turns away, fuming as his moment of viral stardom vanishes. He lashes out at the silent witnesses, daring anyone to meet his murderous gaze. A predator's gaze locks onto his next victim with chilling, murderous intent. Kite realizes too late that he has made a fatal, irreversible mistake. Panic surges as he wonders if his secret recording was finally exposed. The monster looms over him, demanding to know exactly who he is. Terror paralyzes his mind as the realization of certain death sinks in. Meanwhile, the city sleeps under a heavy blanket of cold, dark silence. A new player moves through the shadows, carrying out a mysterious mission. From the distance, the survivors watch his every move with cautious suspicion. A silent agreement passes between them as they prepare for the next strike. Deep inside the hideout, the administrator begins searching for the final evidence. A sudden, aggressive pounding on the door shatters the silence of the hideout. He cautiously reaches for the lock, wondering who could have found this secret location. Cracking the door open, he finds a mysterious girl waiting with an unsettling smile. She claims to have followed him from the store, her eyes gleaming with mischief. His patience wears thin as he demands to know her true intentions for coming. With a playful tilt of her head, she reveals he left something behind. She holds out a pack of cigarettes, using a simple item as her bait. Greed instantly replaces his suspicion as he stares at the unexpected gift. He reaches out to reclaim his property, completely unaware he is falling into a trap. The girl pulls back, demanding a reward for her seemingly kind gesture. His patience finally snaps as the door remains stubbornly locked against his desperate attempts. Suddenly, the target lunges forward with primal greed, demanding the prize for himself. But the air shifts as he realizes he has walked right into a trap. Before he can react, a surge of electricity tears through his body and spirit. The once powerful administrator hits the floor like a puppet with its strings cut. Seol laughs at how easily the greedy fall for such a simple, predictable ploy. She begins dragging the heavy weight of their captive toward the dark room ahead. An eerie silence fills the apartment, littered with the remnants of a lonely binge. After silencing their prisoner with tape, she orders a thorough search of the house. Ajin prepares to move, but something in the shadows catches his sharp golden eyes. They discover a mysterious room locked tightly from the outside. Ajin reaches out to turn the deadbolt and reveal the hidden truth. The heavy door creaks open to a sight he never expected to find. His golden eyes widen in pure horror at the nightmare before him. Seal wonders why he is suddenly frozen in such a chilling silence. She pushes forward to demand answers about what lies within the darkness. The realization hits her like a physical blow as her gaze shifts. Dozens of missing runaways huddle together, broken and covered in bruises. She tries to comfort a trembling boy who has lost all hope. Seol orders Ajin to search for more victims hidden in this house. Ajin kicks open the door only to find the office chillingly deserted. A broken boy struggles to whisper a single word to the stunned Seol. She suddenly realizes the horrific truth of where the other victims are hidden. Hearing her shout, Ajin turns his attention toward the final locked door. His hand grips the knob as he prepares to uncover the room's secret. The door creaks open to reveal a body slumped against the cold tile. Ajin freezes as he recognizes the battered face of his missing friend. He desperately shakes the unresponsive boy, pleading for him to open his eyes. A single eye flickers open, clouded by unimaginable pain and absolute terror. The victim screams in terror, begging the man not to hurt him anymore. Ajin stares in horror at his friend's broken body, barely recognizing the boy before him. An electronic beep cuts through the heavy silence, signaling a sudden shift in the atmosphere. Minjae lets out a blood-curdling scream, his mind shattered by the trauma he endured. Seol freezes in place as the high-pitched ringing triggers her combat instincts. The crushing weight of past trauma resurfaces as the true horror is revealed. Suddenly, the front door chime echoes through the hideout, announcing an unwelcome arrival. The handle rattles violently as someone tries to force their way into the room. A menacing figure glares through the crack, demanding they open the door immediately. The security chain is the only thing standing between them and a potential executioner. Ajin freezes as he recognizes the voice of the man who shouldn't be here. Minjae shatters under the weight of pure terror, begging for a mercy that won't come. Ajin watches in silent horror as his friend's spirit breaks right before his eyes. Outside, the predator pauses, sensing that his private torture chamber has been breached. Through the narrow crack, he spots the open door where his victims are hiding. A sickening grin spreads across his face as he realizes rats entered his trap. He lunges forward, his powerful grip tightening around the flimsy security chain. He throws his entire weight against the frame, forcing the metal to scream. The monster finally breaks through, mocking their pathetic attempt to play the hero. Seol prepares for the worst, frantically ordering Ajin to escape while he still can. In a flash of motion, a deadly strike whistles through the cooling air. Seol screams for him to run as the predator closes in on their position. The flimsy metal chain groans and snaps under the weight of pure malice. Ajin prepares to deliver a truth that will change everything for his friend. He admits his hatred but claims a dead girl's memory demands this rescue. Hearing her name shatters what little remains of the victim's fragile mind. Memories of a lost life flicker before eyes filled with endless salty tears. His bruised knees strike the cold tile as his pride finally gives way. Through ragged breaths, he begs for forgiveness for the tragedy he allowed. He offers the ultimate evidence to bring the entire criminal empire crashing down. But the monster smashes through the barricade before their escape can even begin. Ajin stands his ground as the brute finally blocks his path to freedom. He calls out the monster's name with eyes burning with cold, righteous fury. Shocked by the intrusion, the villain demands to know how his location was found. A sinister grin spreads across his face as he prepares to reveal a truth. Without warning, the predator lunges forward to crush the boy he considers a loser. The impact rattles the very foundations as Ajin is slammed violently against the wall. Gasping for air, he feels the overwhelming pressure of a strength he cannot match. The monster mocks him, claiming his power has evolved far beyond their last encounter. Seol watches in horror as her ally is pinned by the overwhelming brute force. She screams for the others to run while she prepares a desperate final stand. Ajin and Seol race through the corridors to reach the captive before it's too late. Within the shadows, a traumatized Minjae stares out with eyes full of despair. The broken boy finally finds an opening to escape his brutal captors. Suddenly, the massive villain pins Ajin, mocking his desperate attempt at heroism. Enraged by the taunts, the boy swings a fist fueled by pure hatred. The impact echoes through the room as his knuckles meet the monster's face. Unfazed by the attack, the predator simply smiles at the boy's pathetic strength. A devastating counterblow sends the young fighter reeling back into the wall. Gripping his leg in agony, the warrior's resolve begins to harden once more. He stares down his enemy, claiming that ending this fight will be easy. The brute sneers, preparing to crush the boy once and for all. Suddenly, a blur of speed tears across the room toward the monster. He barely has time to react as the air itself begins to scream. A heavy strike slams into his arm, shattering his momentum instantly. The girl stands her ground, her eyes burning with a cold, lethal fury. The villain recoils in shock, recognizing the woman who dares to interfere. She mocks his weakness, promising that this time, she won't hold back. Behind her, the wounded warrior struggles to his feet and calls her name. He demands she leave the monster to him and prioritize the rescue mission. She hesitates, knowing his broken body might not survive another round alone. Ajin's golden eyes burn with urgency as he commands his partner to move. Seol reluctantly agrees, her sharp red eyes flickering with frustration and hidden concern. She sprints toward the rescue mission, leaving her wounded ally to face the threat. The tattooed brute sneers, mocking the idea of a fair one-on-one fight. Despite his broken body, Ajin prepares to prove that power isn't just about strength. Elsewhere, a terrifying figure in red looms over a trembling, battered informant. Paralyzed by fear, the victim realizes there is no escape from the monster's shadow. The scarred man demands to know who is secretly recording his every move. He refuses to believe the lies, claiming his digital presence has been erased. His blood runs cold when he sees the proof that his crimes are live. The scarred enforcer freezes as the weight of his fatal mistake finally sinks in. Panicked, he demands the phone to check if their secret broadcast is still live. He realizes the digital trail he tried to erase is currently broadcasting to hundreds. With a sick grin, he forces his battered captive to face the camera. The terrified witness trembles, forced to play along with the villain's twisted game. Mercy is a foreign concept to a man who thrives on pure, unadulterated chaos. Suddenly, a massive donation alert echoes, signaling a hidden player has joined the stream. The killer stares in disbelief at the sudden windfall coming from an anonymous fan. But the donation triggers a trap, forcing a secret video to play for everyone. The world watches in horror as a monster proudly confesses to a cold-blooded murder. The monster reveals the truth behind a tragedy everyone thought was a simple suicide. His victims sit broken, realizing their suffering was nothing more than a side hustle. He laughs while drinking, eager to brag about the blood on his hands. Suddenly, a voice from the screen calls the killer out by his real name. The hero dares the monster to seek atonement by facing him head-on. Rage boils over as the villain realizes his secret life is being broadcasted globally. Every comment is a nail in his coffin as the world turns against him. Even his battered captive sees the tides finally turning in this deadly game. A bloody smile forms because the trap has finally snapped shut on the predator. As the sun sets, a distant memory offers hope for a peaceful future. Two broken survivors sit on the swings, plotting a strike against an unstoppable monster. The hero reaches deep into his pocket to reveal their only chance at victory. He tosses a mysterious device, passing the torch of justice to his battered friend. A simple phone with a whale sticker now holds the weight of their world. He declares this small object is the ultimate weapon to end the villain's reign. His wounded companion stares in disbelief, questioning how a screen can stop a killer. The order is clear: record everything the moment the predator steps into the light. With a calculated tap, the hero initiates the first stage of their deadly trap. An ominous notification rings out, signaling that the pieces are finally in place. This received video is a lethal gift designed to tear the enemy's empire down. The quiet playground stands as the calm before the coming storm. Min-jae stares at the screen, paralyzed by the sheer brilliance of the trap. He questions if a simple upload can truly dismantle a criminal empire. But the time for talk is over, as the architect of justice stands tall. The plan is to strike when the predator is most vulnerable and live. A film set will become the stage for their final, deadly confrontation. The realization of the high stakes sends a shiver down his battered spine. Miles away, the monster feels the net tightening around his throat. He prowls the streets, hunting for the man who dared to defy him. Desperation takes hold, as the race against time turns into a frantic sprint. A violent crash echoes through the alley as the monster finally snaps. Surrounded by a terrified crowd, the beast stands at the center of the chaos. His blood-curdling scream promises a brutal end for anyone standing in his way. Meanwhile, the architect of justice meets a new challenger with a lethal strike. The impact is devastating, proving that even a predator can be humbled. As night falls over the city, the shadows begin to harbor new threats. Vicious henchmen prowl the streets, questioning the orders of their mysterious master. Their leader stops in his tracks, sensing a presence he did not expect. The hunters have stumbled upon the very targets they were sent to find. A single moment of eye contact turns a simple rescue into a desperate fight. Terrified and broken, Min-jae realizes that getting caught means certain death. Behind them, a pack of ruthless hunters closes the distance with bloodthirsty intent. Seol desperately carries the witness, urging everyone to flee without looking back. They vanish into the narrow shadows, praying the darkness will hide their tracks. But their escape is cut short by a presence that freezes Seol's blood. Gitae's elite monsters have already turned the streets into a graveyard of failures. Knowing the stakes, Seol vows to protect the witness even at her own cost. She strikes with everything she has, but the massive wall of flesh barely flinches. Gravity betrays them as they crash to the pavement, their hope fading fast. Caught in a predator's grip, a desperate cry for salvation echoes through the night. Trapped in a corner, Seol realizes she has run out of places to hide. A mountain of muscle looms over her, mocking her with a twisted sense of chivalry. The monster's grin widens as he prepares to break his own rules for her. While the streets hold their breath, a digital storm begins to brew across the city. Gitae watches in pure disbelief as his carefully constructed life begins to crumble. On every screen, the face of the man he hates most is staring back. Ajin exposes the truth to the world, branding the killer as nothing but trash. He issues a chilling warning, promising that the predator has finally become the prey. Blinded by a primal fury, Gita's soul burns with the desire for absolute slaughter. The sound of shattering glass marks the beginning of a war with no survivors. The digital execution concludes as the world-shattering broadcast finally goes dark. A mysterious observer stares in silence, feeling the weight of the coming storm. He hides the truth from his wife, pretending it was just another video. Leaving his peaceful life behind, the warrior prepares for a final walk. He promises to return soon, though his eyes tell a much darker story. A shattered device on the pavement signals that the hunt has officially begun. Meanwhile, deep in the city, Gite realizes his secrets are no longer safe. He prepares to unleash an army of killers to erase his public humiliation. Driven by pure madness, he demands the target be found within the hour. The aftermath of their brutal struggle leaves the room in total shambles. Both men collapse among the wreckage, their bodies pushed to the absolute limit. Through the pain, Ajin demands to know why he was ever a target. Gite sneers, claiming a privileged person like him could never comprehend the truth. The answer leaves Ajin stunned as he stares back at his former friend. Pure resentment explodes as Gite screams about the suffering he endured to survive. A terrifying realization dawns on the defeated warrior as the air grows heavy. Deciding he has heard enough, the monster slowly rises to end the conversation. With a roar of pure hatred, a final lethal strike descends to finish him. Ajin's golden eyes burn with a cold, calculated fury as he prepares his move. He doesn't hesitate to use the environment, crushing glass into a deadly weapon. The jagged shards fly true, catching the monster completely off guard during his assault. Gite recoils in agony, screaming curses at the man he once called a friend. Blood and glass fill his vision, turning his murderous rage into pure, blinding desperation. The room remains a wreck, a silent witness to the brutal and one-sided exchange. By the time the killer can see again, his target has vanished into thin air. Outside, the sun begins to set on a city crawling with hidden dangers. Meanwhile, Seal finds herself cornered by a new threat lurking in the shadows. A massive wall of muscle traps Seal, thinking he has caught easy prey. She doesn't flinch, her eyes burning with a lethal and focused intensity. With a burst of blinding speed, she closes the distance in a heartbeat. His mockery turns to a strangled cry as her fist connects with his jaw. The brute collapses instantly as Seal looks back at his pathetic, broken form. Disgust fills her gaze as she realizes just how pathetic these thugs are. She tightens her grip on her weapon, ready for the next wave of enemies. Elsewhere, the captured witness is dragged through the dirt like a broken doll. His captor snarls a final warning, completely unaware that death is closing in. Seal stands firm as a desperate thug tries to exert his fading authority. The criminal's arrogance quickly turns to confusion as he senses her overwhelming killing intent. She offers him one final chance to walk away if he surrenders the witness. Refusing to back down, the man reaches into his pocket for a hidden edge. He holds a knife to Minjae's throat, desperately trying to regain control of the situation. Seal remains unfazed, mocking his amateur grip and his obvious fear of real combat. With a sudden burst of explosive speed, she closes the gap in a single breath. Panic consumes the thug as he realizes his threat failed to slow her down. She towers over him with a raised weapon, prepared to deliver a crushing blow. Seal delivers a lethal strike, ending the threat before he can even react. Her red eyes burn with a cold, terrifying intensity as the adrenaline spikes. Silence fills the air as fresh blood begins to stain the white fabric. She curses under her breath, realizing the situation is spiraling out of control. Her strength finally fails as she slumps against the man she just defeated. Minjae watches in pure terror as his only protector suddenly loses consciousness. He screams for her to wake up, desperate for her to stay in the fight. Her grip on the tactical baton remains ironclad even as her strength fades. Meanwhile, Ajin moves through the shadows, sensing the impending tragedy nearby. Ajin stands alone in the darkness, waiting for a signal that could change everything. A single message illuminates the screen, confirming the shadow operative is finally moving. He quickly answers the call, his golden eyes burning with a cold, lethal focus. Every second counts as he listens for any sign of a trap or betrayal. On the other end, Baekun gasps for air while reporting his desperate status. The injured ally sprints through the streets, pushing his broken body to the limit. Panic sets in as he realizes their most vital comrade is still missing. Ajin remains calm, reminding him that the plan must proceed regardless of the cost. With the pieces finally in place, the hunt for Gite enters its final stage. He grips the phone with lethal intent, declaring that the endgame has finally arrived. Across the city, a cold-blooded hunter moves into position to intercept the target. But the plan spirals into chaos as Seol collapses from her devastating injuries. Watching his protector fall, Minjae-jo is consumed by a paralyzing sense of dread. The trap is sprung as Gite activates the terminal with a haunting, sadistic grin. He is ready to return every ounce of pain he suffered tenfold. A massive wave of reinforcements floods the streets to finish the job. Their merciless leader steps forward, eager to crush the last spark of resistance. Yet Ajin stands tall, his golden eyes promising a reckoning they never expected.